for those of you watching, we have not gone back in time. It is the 2025 general election. Luke Rio along with Jack Lynch, and we're going to just quickly run through the races we're watching. Again, it's not all the races. We're just showing you some of the big ones this year's election, and we'll start with Judge of the Superior Court. Also keeping an eye on the Judge of the Commonwealth Court. We've got Treasurer here in Crawford County. Also Clerk of Courts. It's a big race here. Magisterial District Judge, Benjamin Leach and Heather Roberts. Crawford Central School Board. Also keeping an eye out on Titusville School Board. All those folks cross-filed there. Pencrest School Board, that's always a big race and a lot of conversations coming out of Pencrest as always. We've got the mayor race here in Meadville, four-year term. Don Early taking on Jamie Kinder, the incumbent. We also have Meadville City Council we're keeping an eye on. Titusville City Council, Debbie Setley and Fred Smith running there. Conneaut Lake Borough Council, there's the four on the ballot. We're going to be talking about a group that's mounting a write-in campaign here in just a few moments. And joining us here this evening, we've got Mr. Jay Verno. Jay, good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
Retired, but not really. It seems like you're always working on something.
Yeah, I was always involved. Even when I was working my full-time job, I was always involved in the community, and that does give me a lot of drive and motivation still. And really, it's helped me, for lack of a better word, stay out of my wife's hair.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Hopefully, you get to do some traveling in there too.
For sure.
Well,
for
good,
sure.
good. I know grandkids are always important.
Well,
so
that's the two priorities. The traveling, obviously you got to schedule that pretty far out and do those things. And then the grandkids, the beauty of that is now when my kids need help, we're ready, willing, and able. And I got to tell you, that's turned into really a joy. That's and I hate to say it, but sometimes it's a problem for them. Like, oh, we got to do this. And it's like, no, call us, and if we can, we're going to be here.
Oh, that's awesome.
How did you ever find time to work? Seriously.
That's the really strange part is I can tell you we're filling each day up, and like I said, my wife's got different interests than I do, which is great because we kind of separate during the day a lot, and she goes and does her things, I do my things, and then we meet together for dinner, and we are doing more things. Like, for example, tomorrow we're gonna go to New York City. So
excellent.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I just saw they started decorating all their window displays, so it's going to be a great time to go there.
Looking forward to it.
Post-election.
Yes.
Adam, if you can you bring up the Conneaut Lake Borough? Jay, will ask you kind of right off the get-go here. When you look at what's on the ballot, what's missing as part of the story here tonight or today?
Well, Conneaut Lake is really at a critical time. There's a lot of things that are emerging, some things that have happened over the last years, and I guess probably the big news is that there's a serious write-in campaign going on with a team of four ladies that have very impressive credentials, and they've decided that they're going to mount a challenge to the people that are basically made it through the primary. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it has to do with some directional change, where they think the borough should be going versus where the borough is currently. You're probably aware of the redevelopment that has occurred in Conneaut Lake over the last so many years. And there's this kind of a sea change there in terms of what direction they want the borough to take. Personally, I'm involved in even though I'm not a resident of the borough, I am involved in the Conneaut Lake Community Development Committee. And really that's designed to help the entire area grow, foster development, foster growth. And that can take on a lot of different projects, which that's one of the things I love about it. It's diverse, and we have specific projects, and there's things that we just serve as sort of a support mechanism, like the Ernst Trail. Right. The Ernst Trail just announced the trailhead at behind Conneaut Cellars back there, and that's going to take a lot of effort to get people aware of it, get them using it, and we've already had a part in that. We partnered with CATA, and we're able to help bring the mobility bikes there so
Wow.
that people can rent those bikes and use the trail, which I'm a big fan of. And I will be honest, I had not used the trail much up until like last year. And as these developments, I said, well, I better go check it out. And boy, it's an awesome nature trail. If you like nature, you're going to love that trail. And it's also great for bird watchers. I mean, people love it. And I know there's a lot of great trails in Crawford County and elsewhere. The thing I like about that is it really does take advantage of what we have there, which is, for lack of a better word, the swamp and the wildlife. I kid myself because when I go down that trail every once in a while, there's a heron that comes out and he literally buzzes me. And I was like, man, this is cool.
That's cool.
That's how I first met Jack. I was on the trail and he was coming out of the swamp.
Buzzing like, it's true.
Yeah, it's just...
So specifically too, I mean, there's an issue, maybe it was a kicker issue, but where Borough Council decided to go in a different direction with the administration of their grants, how they go about the grants, and hire an outside consultant, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And in so doing, they kind of stripped that title from a local guy that was in the saddle for a very long time. And just to amplify what I'm saying there, when years and years ago, decades ago, when the planning office would go out and talk about a plan and putting something together on the ground, it takes locals to implement anything. And to the borough's credit, to Mr. Eldred's credit, they've done a great job of taking that task and effectuating the grant process and change. And it takes time.
A lot of time.
It takes a lot of, the time horizons on these things can be literally decades, literally. And we always said, you didn't get here overnight, you're not going to get out of here overnight, but it's a process. So I think if you can speak to that side of it, because it sounds like, and I'm not on the ground anymore, but it sounds like that caught a lot of people totally off guard. And it's kind of put on the brakes in terms of what are we doing here, and how do we redress this whole situation, and maybe we need new folks to come in and take a look at things with fresh eyes. Is that kind of what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what informed the initial decision. I know that there was definitely some people that were, I guess, not happy with some of the development. It's that part I'm really having a hard time understanding. Because if you go to, for example, Fireman's Beach, it is,
right,
in my opinion, it's one of the nicest go-to places. And I was able to take my grandkids there and enjoy the public beach. I don't have to go there. I have multiple options, but boy, it's a beautiful public facility. You can go there. They have all the amenities that you need, including food, restrooms, those kinds of things. You have a beach that has it's got divisions where you don't want to have your kids go out too far,
right,
swimming out too far. It is a wonderful facility. Then you also have right there, contiguous with it, you have the boat launches and the docks and all those things. I get it. Maybe some people aren't happy with this particular item or this decision, but on the whole, it's one of the nicest places. And if you haven't been there, I would encourage you to go check it out.
One of the few public ways to access the lake.
Yes.
Period. There's like two or something like that, but this is the premier one to get even to the lake itself.
And basically, I think the charge to go there is for parking. So literally, if you don't park there, you don't even have to pay that either. But it is a wonderful, wonderful facility.
Oop,
and
that's me, sorry.
It really took a lot of cooperation and collaboration with the various entities. Like I'll use the DCNR, as an example. I mean, obviously, a lot of that was paid through grants. Somebody has to write those grants. Somebody has to fulfill those grants, and then you literally have to close those grants up and make sure everything's handled properly. Right. That was all done on a volunteer basis by Bill Eldridge. I've been around different communities, and everyone's struggling to find those grants, let alone write for the grants, get awarded the grants, and see the grants through to fruition. Right. And I think that's what got some people fired up on it was, why are we, in effect, taking somebody who's been doing this as a volunteer basis successfully? It'd be different if, they were trying and not getting anywhere. I get that. Sometimes you do got to make that change. But when you have a successful grant writer who's performed
Right.
and achieved these things, that part I think caught a lot of citizens off guard.
How do you think the writing campaign went? I don't know if you talked to anybody today, but what's sort of been the response, or what have you heard from the community?
I can tell you that I actually did stop just as a kind of a check-in to see, number one, what was happening at the polling place. The candidates that I know and talked to about the write-in campaign said that they felt very good that the people, because they did a pretty aggressive door-knocking campaign to meet and talk to people about these issues, and they were very happy that a lot of those people that they had talked to in their door-knocking campaign were coming out to the polls, presumably to vote for the write-in candidates.
It seems like it's kind of like it's more than just a summer destination. I mean, it's year-round activities. There's really a lot to be excited and proud about. Do you get a sense when you talk to the business owners or people in that community that there is a lot to offer throughout the year there?
Yeah, I think that's really changed. I think that there is a newfound direction and or motivation to try to encourage more year-round businesses so that the people that are there, and obviously the population does balloon up during the summertime, but those businesses that are there in the summertime want to be there year-round as long as they can do it financially.
Right.
And that's why our group is really, really trying to help those businesses that are going to be open year-round. Rising River is a perfect example. They could have chosen to just in effect be open in the warm weather months and close down, and that would take away from the options from the local residents like myself and my wife and our family to go there during the rest of the time of the year and have a nice dinner, beer, just a really nice location.
So just a few minutes ago, Bill Lawrence was in and talking about, what he sees, his motivation for running and what his priorities are. One of the things we talked about was creating the conditions for local finance or for local business, for investment. And on that front, you're right, you mentioned the brew pub that's in there, but there's also several things that are following suit. Part of the beauty of the plan that was effectuated out there, I think it was multifold. It was a cityscape program, it was the public utilities program, it was a quarter access program, it was a bunch of stuff, right? And then you had private sector kick in and create the Ice House Park and all these different things. And so the discussion that, as I understand it, Jay, has been, what have we done right, what have we done wrong, and why are we here today getting a whole course of action when over the previous, say, 10, 15 years, we've had a bunch of victories. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I would have to say it is. I mean, like I said, I was fortunate enough years ago when the idea of applying for the grants and doing the streetscape and all that was first hatched. I remember that we were printing basically a business plan, a presentation plan that they were going to go reach out to private donors to come up with some of the match monies to be able to go for these grants, right? And I remember when I printed that off, I looked at it and said, wow, this is pretty cool. They had a vision of what things were going to look like. And don't you know, like the first page on that was a picture of the corner where Rising River is today. And this is long before they ever had the idea to do it. There was a picture of a business there that would have food and beverages and things like that on that corner. And don't you know, when Rising River came in, for example, they pretty much built and made it look like that drawing. I wish I had remembered to bring it in today because it would have been.
That's compelling.
It was pretty cool. You got to understand. There's a you've heard the saying that rising tide lifts all boats. Well, there is also, when you have more businesses there's a synergy there. So you get some clothing stores and some arts and crafts stores. I'm excited that it's called the Blue Heron, and it's relatively newer for me. Haven't been there a ton of times, but my understanding is, there's artwork there. They do wines, and now they're doing entertainment. I love live entertainment anyway, so it's great for us to have another option right downtown.
And what local realtor David Gordon has invested in the downtown with the property as well. So I mean, there are people that are attracted to what we were talking about with Bill and what's going on. You know, what he'd like to see in downtown Meadville or more of.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing that there as well, which is fantastic.
And along with that, I mean, there is a significant issue, and I will tell you, there's going to be a lot of debate on this no matter what happens in the election, but there's a significant issue. They do need to address some of the parking issues because now that I'm there and full time, I do park downtown quite a bit more. And what I've seen is that it's really not safe the way it's currently designed. So that needs to be re-looked at. I know there's been discussion over many years about whether there should be just one-sided parking. You know, obviously that would eliminate some parking. You need to find those spaces somewhere. We don't want to replicate what some of the issues that have happened in Meadville and not have enough parking. So I get that. That's a hard issue because that's not an easy answer. And I will tell you that that's one of the issues that the writing campaign ran on, was trying to look at different solutions to fix that, not take it away. No one wants to take away parking from businesses. No one. What they want to do, though, is try to figure out a way to make it safer. And I think we had similar situations, if you remember, around the courthouse at one point.
We did. In fact, that was the corridor bypass study. And you're talking about something like an origin and destination study for the, that corridor that includes the borough, which can be done, right? I mean, it would take, again, it takes somebody at the helm to make the case and to put it in the 12-year program and all these different things. And it takes
we want that somebody
time.
To be local. We
Yes.
really want that somebody to be local, to understand that, like I said, this is not an easy situation. I have good friends on both sides. They're like, well, you're going to take away parking from the I say, no, that's not what we want to do. We want to increase parking for the businesses, but we want to make it safer.
Right.
Because I can tell you, I had a business meeting with a friend. We went into one of the local shops downtown for our breakfast meeting, and he came out, his side mirror was gone. I mean, he was gone. That's on a new truck, right?
Wow.
I'm like, oh, I felt bad. We haven't met in Connie Lake since, but we're going to work on that. We're going to keep going. But
Connie Lake is open for business.
It is definitely open for business.
100%.
And like I said, some people, well, you just move your mirrors. It is tight. If you and we have a lot of truck traffic right there.
Oh yeah.
So you've got big, huge trucks. You've got parking on both sides. It's very tight. And like I said, if you have any issues at all, you're either going to get hit or something worse. So what we're trying to do is be proactive and try to figure out a solution before it becomes a real issue.
Your parking garage barge idea might come into play here.
I didn't want to mention it here, but I think that could be floated, Jay. Little joint venture.
Yeah, all right. I'm open to that. Yeah, I mean, parking is always an issue everywhere, but like I said, there are some ideas out there, and some people that are very smart in terms of planning and development have at least put some ideas out there. I'm not saying that anything is laid in stone. It's not, but we really need to really address that, in my opinion. Now, like I said, I'm not a resident of the borough per se, but I go into town almost every day for multiple things, and I want to be able to stop, park, go do my business, go maybe get lunch, have my meetings, go to the bank, do the things I need to do, and not worry about it.
How many people do you think who live there understand that parking is a concern? Do you think folks who are going out voting today, they're thinking parking? And I only bring this up because every time I drive through Waterford, I always think they had a discussion on parking there because now you have to back in.
Yep.
And I'm like, why are you doing? But obviously they had a discussion where this was important to them, and
I would like to think that most people have experienced an issue, and they may just think, hey, it is what it is, and they kind of suck it up, or they don't, or they say, hey, I'm not going down there. I'm going to go out to Vernon, or I'm going to go somewhere else where there's on off-street parking, and maybe that's one of the reasons why those other areas develop, is because adjacent parking off the street is safer and it's easier, right? I don't know how much it's going to resonate. That's why it will be important to see what kind of turnout we have. Do people feel that this is that issue? I don't know. But I would tell you, if you combine the grant situation with the parking situation, with some of the other concerns that these candidates have, I think there's enough buzz in the community. I would be surprised if we didn't have a bigger turnout. And like I said, the population will vote the way they vote. They might say, no, it's fine. It's fine the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. If they decide that they want changes, then they can vote that way. And as long as they can do the write-in properly, which, we know it has its own little issues to it. But I believe the write-ins today with the new machines are easier to do.
Yep.
We'll see.
Jay, let me ask you a question generally. In your view, being close to it, do you see the write-in candidates as being agents of change or return to the status quo? It's not a trick question. I mean, they're questioning sort of the recent think in terms of management and so forth, and now stop. We were doing great. We want to go. How do you view that on the ground? Like, what do people think?
It's a very good question, Jack. I think that it's a combination.
Okay.
I think that certainly when it comes to grants and writing and going after these grants and proposals, there's some of that they say, hey, we've had great success and we've gotten a lot of things done that other communities use us and they come and visit our community to see how we did it.
Right.
Now, there's other areas that I believe that the new candidates are saying, hey, no, we want to have a different perspective on this. We want to, again, whether it's looking at events and goings on in the downtown, they want to be more aggressive in terms of having more things to do, more support, less maybe infrastructure, because a lot of that has been done. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, other than, like I said, parking issues, I don't know that there's a lot more infrastructure that needs done. I think a lot of it now is supporting new business development and or making it easier for those new businesses to survive and thrive.
And to your point, I had a chance to interview all four of them, very great ladies. And to what you're talking about, Jack, I mean, they all have, it wasn't just like a one-issue thing. There's a lot of things they want to address and cover. And I'm sure the folks running, have things that they want to continue to do as well. But,
sure.
It's not, hey, we're just going to solve this one thing and then just kind of sit around. I mean, I think they all have
They're
something.
definitely not one-issue candidates.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and that's what kind of attracted me, because like I said, I've never been a one-issue person. I realize you have to get somebody in that's going to tackle those hard issues, and some of those hard issues are not on your plate to start, right?
Yep.
Now, it's something that develops. Maybe it's a year from now or 2 years from now. I mean, you think about it, and that's why I'm a big believer in getting the smartest people we can, that can listen to other people, get along with other people, collaborate with others, and even then, I may not agree with everything they decide on, but the bottom line is I've got to trust at some point that they're putting the time in, they're putting the work in, and they're going to do what's best for the people they're representing.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be interesting. Like we don't expect to hear a lot tonight with the write-in in Conneaut Lake. We had Commissioner Seeley here, and of course that's a whole process unto itself. But it'll be interesting to see what votes pour in for the folks on the ticket. You can make some general deductions from that based on turnout and population and stuff like that. But it's going to be very interesting, Jay. And I would say that this is one of the hotter, if not the hottest, local races in terms of contested and some of the, I guess, the buzz, on social media and so forth. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this turns out.
When you look at a
lot of stake.
The county, I mean, each spot sort of has their big thing. You've got that in Conneaut, like you've got the mayoral race here and council. You've got the magisterial race towards Titusville. So, yeah, there's really a lot to drive voters out to get. I mean, you should anyways. These are important, elections, but. Just to get out and vote. And the weather today, I know I keep talking about that, but when you look at all the factors, it really is the perfect storm for getting out and exercising your right to vote.
Yeah, I when I woke up and saw what the forecast was, I was like, boy, this is good. This is what we want. We want all the right things to line up and say, let's get the population out. Everybody should vote. Whatever they vote, they vote. But they should do their part. They should feel proud that we have this process. And it's important that
Oh, yeah.
people exercise their right to vote. Like I said, they can pick their own issues, what they think is most important. And I have a lot of friends that have kids in school districts, and the school district votes are very, very important to them.
Yeah. All right, probably the hardest question for you tonight. How are the Steelers going to finish up their season?
Late season collapse.
Couldn't let it go. Oh, yeah, right.
What are you talking about?
I'm telling you.
Let me just say this: they're loading up the guns. They're reloading, getting some new firepower.
Good Lord.
how's your team doing?
Yeah.
Ohio
Browns.
State's doing great.
Yeah. Keeping it focused on the Steelers, I am an eternal optimist, but I will say this: it's been hard to be a Steelers fan for a couple years because you knew that if the defense didn't carry that team, it really wasn't going anywhere. Now, I feel that there's going to be some games where the offense pulls it out. Other times it's going to be the defense, like last Sunday. And, when they're clicking, they can beat anyone. They can beat anyone. Will they? We'll see. Mm-hmm. I will say this. If they stay healthy, if they keep Rodgers healthy, they're going to be a factor. They're going to be a factor. All we got to do is get into the playoffs, and he's got enough experience. I think he could at least win one game.
Jay, you and I can keep this conversation going the rest of the night, but I have a feeling Jack would just leave us.
My 10-second review is they'll have another classic late season collapse, lose their last 4 games, and Jay will be saying they're loading up for next year.
Yeah.
Hey, Flacco's playing well for you.
Flacco's.
Oh no! Wait a second.
He's gone. Why is he playing so much better for Cincinnati? We have to analyze that.
I have bad juju in Cleveland. I tell you. God only knows.
Yeah. Jay, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
anything else before we wrap things up?
No, just thank you for having me on. And
thank you for coming in,
talk
Jay.
about these important issues.
Yeah, no, I enjoy seeing your posts on Facebook.
Thank you. Yes. I appreciate that.
Whether it's Steeler, whatever it is, I will always usually take a look. So
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Jay. Good to see you.
Our election coverage will continue. We're live from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. And by the way, polls are open for another 32 minutes. So get out and vote. Still time. If you're just getting home and you're like, I forgot to get back in the car, go out, vote, get it done. You're hearing a lot of these important issues and, exercise your right to vote. And here's the other thing. Amy and I talked about this morning on the morning drill. If you got little kids, take them with you. Let them see the process. Yeah. We did that with our kids, and I think that was just a big
100%
help for them to understand how important it is to get out and vote. So, all right, we'll be right back. And welcome back to our election night coverage. Luke Rio along with Jack Lynch, and we'll run through the races we're watching here tonight real quick. And it's going to start with, well, actually, Adam, you're going to do that, so we'll just go ahead and do it ourselves here. Judge of Superior Court, kind of keep an eye on that. And again, please keep in mind that the polls close at 8 o'clock. So we're not going to be seeing numbers until well after 8, but these are just some races we're keeping an eye on. Judge of the Commonwealth Court, Treasurer, Clerk of Courts, Crawford Central School Board, Meadville Mayor, Meadville Council, Judge of Election. We also have the Magisterial District Judge race that we're keeping an eye out on, Titusville School Board, Titusville City Council. We're also keeping an eye on out in Connie at Lake Borough. We just had Jay on talking about council out there, Pencrest School District. So, yeah, there's a lot of races we're kind of keeping an eye on, and we'll be talking about throughout the night tonight. And we're going to be here till 10 o'clock. So, yeah, just kind of getting into things. Jack, anything we missed there before we get to
we just wanted to say that our first guest this evening was somebody running for council, who everybody knows, Bill Lawrence, came in and gave us sort of a cut on why he's doing what he's doing. Very informative. And so we'd like to give the current mayor, Jamie, an opportunity to speak. And if you could introduce who's with you this evening. And
do I need this thing on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm really good. I'm pretty excited, right? Again, I'm Jamie Kinder. I'm the mayor of Meadville, Pennsylvania. And I am here with the two people that I have endorsed that I think would be the best at helping me run Meadville, right? And that love Meadville in a way that that made me endorse them, right? And this is Mary Moody. She is running for council, and Andy Herbstritt, and he is also running for council.
Are you guys have been local your entire lives? Were you born here?
Yeah.
If you've never used, just don't put it too close to your face.
There you go. Perfect. All right, now you guys can talk.
Alrighty. I am born and raised here in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I am originally from St. Mary's, Pennsylvania. Moved here in 2008 when I got a job at the middle school. And I've been teaching in Crawford Central School District since, and coaching, and kind of this is my adopted hometown now.
What do you teach and what do you coach?
8th grade social studies, and I've coached football for the past 17 years. This is the first year I haven't. I had a son last summer, and also coached track and field, which I'm still continuing to do.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
What events?
The throws.
Okay.
Shot put, disc, and javelin.
There you go. All right. Well, welcome,
Fantastic.
and thanks for being here. Jamie, we had a chance to talk yesterday morning. Different audience here tonight. Give us your reasons for running again.
I'm running again because I think that we have more to do here in Meadville, right? Meadville is an example of what can be done, right? It's an example of a place that that works for everybody and works for the people who live here, right? And we know that by the way we have made decisions, keeping people at the top of our mind, right? Listening to people and keeping them in the top of our mind, and that is like a rental inspection program. Everybody deserves safe, right, housing. They deserve to be safe and have dignity where they live, no matter who they are. An ambulance service that we brought in-house, right? Like, that is a public service now, and people don't have to pay for that ride anymore, right? That means we know that healthcare doesn't work when it's for profit, right? And we have created a program that you're not going to have to go in debt because you're at the worst time of your life, right? You've had a crisis. We have an anti-retaliation ordinance, right, that makes it so renters have the ability to speak up, right, when things aren't going well, when their living conditions aren't where they need to be, right? We have a right to organize. We have a right to speak, right? So these are things that we have done here in Meadville, including, right, giving traditional pensions back to police and fire. They deserve our best too. We need to invest in them like they're investing in us. So that's just a couple of the things we're doing, including building homes and partnering and balancing budgets that they told us. We've been Act 47 in 2026 and there was nothing we could do. And we balanced those budgets by hiring people, by creating new programs, right? By thinking about the people who live here. So Just a side note, it's a lie. You don't have to slash things. Don't have to take things away from people. You can move your bottom line by putting people first and caring about the people who live there.
So,
Right.
if you don't know, Act 47 is considered to be the kiss of death, municipal kiss of death,
Sure.
just for anybody who falls into that sort of state receivership for the audience. So these are sort of the things you see the council has
Yeah.
accomplished. What are the things that are front and center today? In addition to those are ongoing. We had Bill in here. You talked a little bit about that. What do you see as the first, most and foremost challenges facing the next council when it's seated? What's changed?
Well, we have to create housing here, right? We have great industry that has jobs, right? And we have to make sure there's housing here for people to move in. Meadville is a place that people are no longer leaving in droves, right? This is a community unlike others. Other places are talking about people leaving, people not wanting to stay. We lost 20 people in the last census tract, 20. What that indicates is that people are starting to stay. They're starting to want to be here, right? So we need housing. We need the ability for people who want to buy, people on one income, people with children, right? We need the ability for people to have safe housing, right? And a choice of where to live, right? So that's a huge thing. Also, we established an MCRC, which is an entity that I sat on the board to establish along with other anchor institutions, which are institutions that are big here, our college, our hospital, right? And our industry, and created an entity that just thinks about downtown, right? That means they think about who to bring in, who's going to work here, and how to support the businesses that are here. Our downtown is amazing.
What's MCRC stand for?
The Meadville Revitalization Corporation.
Okay.
So they, their whole job is to think about our downtown, how to keep people here, how to support people or businesses, small business when it comes in, how to support big businesses, where housing can go, right? How to better serve the people who live here and the people who work here, right? It's with a focus on our downtown and our economy. So that's something that needs to be better. And then the rental inspection program, right? Policies are not perfect when you put them into application. You think you do, right? They work different than what you wrote down on paper, right? We understand that. We know that.
Right.
So we need to adapt and evolve our rental inspection program to work better. Our renters said that they wanted a better inspection. Our landlords said they needed more flexible appointments, right? They needed more flexibility in making appointments to come in to inspect the units. So we took it from a third party, an outside party, to back in-house. And we have somebody full-time that is doing those inspections that can work closer to our landlords and speak to our renters, right? So I want to see that through, right? So we have work to be done in Meadville.
So housing's a complex issue for a lot of
is.
reasons, but is the issue, as you said, I don't know what the breakdown is between rentals and I understand it's 40%. Is that
70% renter?
70?
Yes, renters here in Meadville. 70% renters, 40% homeowners.
So
that you own your own home and you live in your home. Yes.
So that's a flipped situation.
It is. It's almost exactly opposite than the state.
So is it the affordability? Is it the durability? In other words, is it the condition? Is it lack of, new models being? What specifically is the problem?
Is happening?
Is it multi?
As you said, it's a complex issue, and it's an issue that is across the country. Correct? We hear it all the time, right? We have some real issues in this country, and number one are the purchase rates, right, from corporate landlords or people who are investing in homes is outpacing people who are buying homes to live in, right? New homeowners and buyers to. So that's an issue in itself, right? That started in 2002. It is continuing now. And we also, right, have an issue with housing stock, right? Meadville was founded in 1788. We got a lot of old places, right? We also haven't built homes in Meadville in something like 25 to 30 years, right? We had the last home we built was on Willow Street, and it was like a prefab model that came in, right? So, and that has everything to do with zoning ordinances that we changed to make it so building lots can be smaller, and it has everything to do with people having capital. Mm-hmm. You know, we're in a poverty city, right? Like, housing is a complex issue, and it needs a lot of small puzzle pieces to come in and start fixing those problems.
I was going to say, let's bring Mary and Andrew into the conversation. Yeah. Mary, for you, what was that moment where you said, yeah, I'll do this, I'm going to run? She looked at Jamie here.
It's a story I have been telling so many times. I went to Jamie, I think we were at a marketing meeting or something, and I
we were at the beloved community fair, yes. I think.
And I said, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to get involved in the community. There's some things that I want to do. And she says, well, hey, I want to talk to you. There's something I want you to do, you know? And so it kind of went from there, and she began to share her heart about things, and it just connected that way. And she asked me, and I said, no, I'm not a political person. I don't think that would be something I would like to do. And then she continued to keep talking. And before I realized it, my hand was out, and I said yes. And we sat down and we met and we talked about it, and it just started from there. And I said, I love a challenge. I do not back away from it. And plus, doing what I do, I'm a counselor by trade, trauma therapy. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of young people who are unhoused, and so that was something that I wanted to see change. And I was so excited to see that they had that in play, and that we can just keep moving forward in that.
I was just thinking back. It has to be exciting for you just to kind of think back. Like, I started the year not really thinking about doing this, and now here I am.
Yeah, not
at
all.
Election day.
This has been a whirlwind for me.
Yeah. Andrew, for you, being a teacher, teaching social studies, to now doing this, there's a candidate in Titusville, same situation, Fred Smith, who usually joins us for election coverage. He's also running, but just talking to him a little bit, you know, it was one of those things where you teach this, you're talking to students, and then there's that moment where it's like, yeah, maybe I should actually live it too. Did you have a moment like that?
Well, at this time last year, I was coaching high school football. We were getting ready for the District 10 championship game against General McLean. I had no real interest in running for city council. I did run 4 years ago. I lost in the primary opposite of the vote for Meadville team. And I've actually been very pleased with what Jamie, Gretchen Myers, and Larry and Autumn have been able to do on the city council. So at this time last year, it wasn't really in my view. I was very pleased with the way things were going. I guess some opportunities came up. Gretchen wasn't running again. I know Jim was up for re-election. I started thinking about this again. And one of the biggest reasons why I decided to collaborate with Jamie and Mary is because they put people over politics. Right now, you're seeing at the state and national level, politics over people. That's why there's gridlock. That's why they can't open the government. That's why they can't pass a budget. What I've seen accomplished over the past 4 years has inspired me to get involved. I see a lot of people in the community, at more events that I go to, there's a small core of people doing a lot. And this is a way that I can start to contribute more and do my part and keep this progress going. So I thank Mayor Kinder and others on City Council that have really shown what can happen when you think of people, when you start building and not subtracting, when you lead with positivity and a vision and being innovative. And I do appreciate that. Going to my students, I have a minor in political science. I've always been interested in government and everything. And actually, oddly, my 8th grade teacher was the mayor of the town I grew up in. And it's kind of funny that here I am running for city council. And I asked, his name was Jerry Marshall, and he was a great teacher. And I asked him, 8th grade, I said, well, how much do you get paid? That's what you ask. He's like $1,000. And I'm like, we're like $1,000. And I go, well, why?
A year, right?
Yeah, a year. Yeah. So it was like, here, you're not doing it for the money. It's going to cost you money. That's not why you do it. And he's like, in the town I grew up in, St. Mary's, like, I love St. Mary's, and I believe in St. Mary's, and that's kind of where we're at right now. I wasn't born here. I chose to live here. I met my wife here. My son was born here. I've met wonderful families teaching here. I owe a lot to this community, and this is an opportunity to give back to it.
One of the things we talked about earlier was this whole idea of like this business investment, right? And Bill was saying like he's been a business owner, property owner in town for 20 some odd years, and nobody's ever approached him. I was having lunch downtown just recently, and the particular individual said nobody's ever approached him. You know, he's got concerns of parking and different things. So we talked about just the idea of this round table. It sounds like you've got a version of that now, correct? You've got something where
Absolutely.
there's a forum. I mean, as a downtown merchant, let's say, a small business, how do they tap into this? How are they made aware? And additionally, don't want to forget the big businesses.
Sure.
I mean, some of the big businesses that have carried the community in a very industrial sense and everything else, you know, they're part of the community as well. They've donated a lot back to the community. But going back to this idea of this group that you have, how does a business or merchant or something become aware, involved, and benefit from it?
So there's not just one group. We have a chamber. They do good work, right? In Titusville, and right, like they're the Crawford County Chamber. We have an Independent Business Alliance. That's all of downtown. They're a group of people that work really hard. If you've heard of First Fridays, right? That's them, right? And you know, let's be clear. You have to be involved. Nobody's going to be chasing you down, right? Like. People have to carry a lot of hats. We got to wear a lot of hats in a small town, right? So it is absolutely our responsibility to be a part, to stay connected, right? But the MCRC, which is headed by Andy Walker, he was a city manager, right? He worked for the college, for our downtown. Everybody knows Andy. His office is in the chamber. Right? He is not hard to get a hold of or see walking around town, right? And he is reaching out to people. We also have Rena Rubaleski, she is the person who reaches out to our businesses. We have an actual person in the city that reaches out to businesses, right? And not to mention, Autumn Vogel has absolutely reached out to a lot of people. You know, she also sits on council. So, you know, if you don't care for her or her politics, maybe you may forget that she has reached out to you. I mean, but I do want to be clear. We have done nothing but centered businesses downtown, because no downtown will work without great small businesses, right? And again, I don't.
Well stated.
Huh?
Well stated.
Yeah, I don't want to, you know, toot Meadville's horn here, but we do have those great businesses. And I think sometimes they sell themselves short, because I walk down there all the time and I have no problem spending all of my money down there. Right? So, you know, we've got kind, compassionate small businesses that work together because we have a shared vision in Meadville, and they are dedicated. You talk to Woolen Mill, right? You talk to Hatch Hollow. You talk to Cup and Spoon and the Salty Spa and Confection of a Cake Lover. Ask them if they are constantly working together, right, to create a Meadville and create businesses that thrive. It's hard work, right? But they are very connected, right? I see them all the time. I post their stuff. Salty Spa has my favorite earrings in there and jewelry. Stop by. So do you know what I mean? Like it takes work in a community to get out there. So we may not chase you down, but we're here, right? We're here to make sure you succeed. We're here with events for you to get involved in, right? And we're here and we want you to survive and do better, because Meadville does better when you do better.
So just a follow-up question to all that. So you've been in office now 6 years?
4.
4. What's the biggest accomplishment to anybody that isn't aware of what's happening, or maybe the top 2 that you've seen during your tenure as mayor? What would you hang your hat on in terms of some of the more, is it the union issue, bringing back things things to the fire department in terms of their pensions, or what would you say are the biggest?
All of those things are great. Investing in people, right? Investing in our workers, but that ambulance service, man, that ambulance service is something special, right? Our times are 2 minutes lower than the state average. We are saving lives, all because they care about people, right? We got that up and running in 90 days, right? And we started that year out at $1.1 million in deficit, right? We bought ambulances, we hired people, and we were off the ground on April 1st, right? April 1st. And by August, our deficit was down to $175,000.
You say that's the budget, the deficit facing the city? Or?
The deficit was $1.1 million.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, we had our ambulance up by April 1st because we only had this much time, right? When we decided, we were told we wouldn't have coverage in 90 days. We got that ambulance service up and running. People hired, it going, us saving lives in 90 days. And in the meantime, we were able to bring our deficit down almost $800,000 in 8 months.
So you're saying that's bucking the trend across the Commonwealth for small cities that are experiencing coverage problems?
Yeah.
Counties in general, just
Absolutely.
anybody? Okay.
And that's across the country too. I mean,
It is across the country.
Yeah.
Not
Absolutely.
everybody gets an Evan Kardosh, though, right? Which is our chief of our fire chief. So, I mean, again, Meadville's a special place.
Well, real quick, I want to bring Mary and Andrew back in real quick. Mary, Andrew, what was that like that first time somebody came up and talked to you about something after they found out you were running? Did you have to take a step back and go, "You're asking me? Oh yeah, I'm I'm a candidate. Yes."
Yeah. I know for me, I'm always surprised. I always call myself the baby in the bunch. I'm like, they've done this before, but this is all new to me. And it's amazing. It's nothing short of amazing. I've had, like today, I went to go vote, and there was a young man sitting beside me, and he looked up and he says, "Oh my God, I'm sitting beside the person that I'm voting for." And it was really, really exciting. And then when I sit and I talk to people and I hear their hearts and their concerns about what's going on in the city, and they get to hear my heart and what I love about the city and what I want to see more for the city and to work for the city, it just makes me feel like I'm in the right place, doing the right thing.
You mentioned what would you put at the top of the list of what do you love most?
For me, what I love most is what the plan is for the housing action plan and building more houses for the community, because that is something that is a necessity. I believe that hopelessness is a lot of the reason why we see where we are. People struggle and they don't have hope and they don't see where it's going to happen for them. And I feel like we should come together as a community, as a people, as the leaders in this community to do for everyone in the city. And I believe that helps build people. I know that the climate, the way it is now, there is a lot of, and I think it's just because of my trade, I see a view of damage and trauma and a lot of people struggling and not knowing how to get to the next step. And it's good to have a diverse group of people to deal with each situation and to be able to deal with each type of person. And I honestly believe that is one of the best ways and the best steps, is to get out there, reach the people, and we have to start educating them again and start teaching them, especially with building more homes and things like that. That will open so much up. It will open more businesses. It will give people more encouragement to feel like it's okay for them to go out and do these things when they see regular people like us doing these things.
Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I never saw myself as anyone, more important than anybody else in this community. I'm amazed by, like I said, inspired by a certain group of people in this town that are doing so much, wearing so many hats. And I look up to them as, like inspiration, as a mentor of what we could all be doing a little bit more in this city. And, talking about, I'm still, canvassing has been one of the most enjoyable parts of this experience for me. These ladies know, like, I've really attacked that. I've loved doing it. I love going door to door. I love talking to people. And I guess just most recently, I was up on Upper South Morgan Street, and I'm talking to a lady in her yard, and we're talking about parking, discussing that. And there's a lady on the sidewalk waiting for me. We're discussing, and we ultimately came to this kind of a shared understanding over the issue of parking, specifically where you're dealing with people who have mobility and disability issues, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then, I let her continue her lawn work, and I turned around, and this lady starts talking to me, and it was interesting. I'm not afraid of people bringing those concerns to me. I'm not shying away from the challenge of trying to solve these problems. If they can't even be solved, manage the outcome, I guess. Because some of these problems you can't solve on city council. Right. You can't wave a wand, and you don't have unlimited resources. You can't spend more money than you bring in, like the federal government, and make stuff and build beautiful infrastructure. It's not there. So you gotta, I think Jamie brought up a great, the partnerships are gonna be important moving forward. When you're looking with economic development, when you're dealing with community well-being, from housing to dealing with homelessness to drug and alcohol. I mean, these are things that city council has very little extra resources for. Right. But, securing grants, dealing with the crisis intervention officer to help the police in those situations are small things city can do without, stretching beyond its limits.
Well said.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Mary,
you.
are you staying here to analyze Jack during the break, or are we okay?
It's okay.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for stopping.
All right, and the polls will be closing here in just a couple minutes. So if you're just parking and trying to get in to vote, get in there. We got a couple minutes. All right, our coverage will continue right after this. Some of my favorite music right there. It just means we're here providing election night coverage. Luke Rio, Jack Lynch. And Jack, polls are officially closed.
So we were told in an earlier segment that we'd start getting some results, the first dump about a quarter after the hour or so. So we'll be following that closely. And we take them by their word. It's been, Crawford's been a slow roller. I mean, you can see the results from various places. So I think they've worked on that diligently over the last couple of years. And we'll see what we see. But yeah, as we get results in, we'll let folks know. Very preliminary, but it's just an indication of where things are heading, hopefully, and you get some information from us.
Absolutely. We are live from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation in beautiful Meadville, Pennsylvania. Let's just quickly run through some of the races we are watching here tonight. And roll that beautiful bean footage. Judge of the Superior Court. We are keeping an eye out on that race. Also, Judge of the Commonwealth Court. Get a little more local here with the Treasurer, 4-year term, Renee Kaiser, and Stephanie there. And we also have Clerk of Courts, Tricia Weatherby. Taking a look at the Magisterial District Judge race that's going on. Also, Crawford Central School Directors. You can see Republican, Democrat, those who cross-filed. Also, Titusville School Board, and those folks all cross-filing there. Pencrest School Board. There's your Republicans, Democrats. You have a Amber Wright who cross-filed, and then you've got an independent running. Mayor here in Meadville, Don Erdley and Jamie Kinder, the incumbent. Big race here in Meadville. There's your Meadville City Council. We spoke to Bill Lawrence earlier tonight, and we just spoke with Jamie and Mary and Andrew. Titusville City Council, got Debbie Setley and Fred Smith. Conneaut Lake Borough, Jay talked a little bit about the race out there, Conneaut Lake Borough. And what you don't see with the four candidates mounting the write-in, the four write-ins. So there you go. Those are some of the races. Now, that's not everything. There's a lot of other races. You probably, when you went in to vote, saw a lot of other things. So, but those are just some of the big ones that we're going to be covering here tonight. And we want to welcome Gavin Griffin, City Councilman for the City of Titusville. We want to welcome State Representative Brad Roy. Good evening, guys. Good to see you this morning.
Good evening.
Or this morning. I'm used to hosting the morning drill, so
can you even tell what time of day it is?
I know, it's all running.
Maybe daylight savings time ending messed you up a little bit. It's just 1 hour, not 12 hours.
I know, but it feels like it sometimes, doesn't it? How are you? Good to see you guys tonight.
Great. You know, I was just remarking earlier that this is the first time in a while that I haven't been on the ballot for anything. So I'm enjoying not having to go out and stand in the cold all day.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
So how'd you spend your day? How did you
I had a series of city council meetings. It's budget season, so it's crunch time for us. You know, I'm not going to get into that with the state, but and then of course I voted and took a little nap and came in fresh. So glad to be here.
Coming in hot, Brad.
Well, I spent the day going to different polling sites. You know, I was at East Mead, West Mead, both West Meads, the Meadville Senior Center, the Vernon Township building, the Sadsbury Township, the old fire station out there. It was just, not being on the ballot, it's really low pressure.
Right.
And I passed out Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and those are a bipartisan kind of a thing, so people enjoyed that. And I had a few people tell me, hey, Brad, keep up the good work. I voted for you. It's like, thanks. And I'm curious to look at the results to see if I got any votes.
Where you ended up.
Because I wasn't running for anything, but no, it's just good. I really enjoy being at the polls, seeing people, talking with them. And surprisingly, only one person asked me about the state budget. You're number two.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, at the polling sites. No, I kind of figure, I'm going to make myself available if anybody wants to talk about that, find out what's going on. But all day long, there's really only one person that asked me about that.
One person.
One person.
What was the turnout like in your estimation?
Well, like it is in these so-called off years, which there's no such thing as an off year as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't that impressed. I mean, most of the places were steady, but it wasn't, like where is everyone?
Right.
these are very, very important elections. City council, whether it be in Titusville or Meadville, township supervisor, school board, those are the things that really, impact us a lot. What we do in Harrisburg's important, what they do in Washington's important, but I've always thought the local stuff, if somebody's only going to vote every 4 years, it should be during an odd year they vote, not an even year. That's just my opinion.
Truthful. That's truth spoken. I mean, these local races are pocketbook races in many ways, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, 2 township supervisors can basically do whatever they want. They can start a police department. They can close down a police department. They can, spend all of the treasury the township has and pave one section of road and be broke. They could refuse to pave anything. Same thing with city councils. 3 people can basically do. I'm within reason, whatever that. Where it's me.
Right.
Think about it, if I wanted to raise taxes. I don't, but say I did. I'd have to have another 101 people in the House agree with me, find 26 people in the Senate that agree with me, and get the governor to agree with me.
Right.
But if I wanted to raise somebody's taxes, I would run for township supervisor. I don't need to find one more person, and 2 of us could do whatever we want.
Well, and I think somebody said
That's well
tonight,
said.
Jack, when you look at this, as Representative Roy just said, I mean, you've got how many governing bodies that can increase your taxes like that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the majority of the races here tonight, your school boards, and city councils, and the township supervisors, absolutely. So, it's so important to get out and vote. Hopefully, everybody did make it out today to vote. Gavin, for you, you've got the magisterial race you've been keeping an eye on. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's right. So, those who have watched your coverage for years have known that I'm a Democrat, but I, during this general election campaign, have endorsed and supported the Republican, Ben Leach, for magisterial district judge. And I was out with him for a little while today, talking to people, and it felt like the vibe was generally pretty good. And at my polling place when I went to vote, I was number 89, and that was 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So it was better than they expected, typically, for an odd-year election.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, not that this matters, but there's so much, I think, there's so many stories within just that race in itself.
Absolutely.
They're family members running against each other, which makes it really challenging. They're also both really good people. Yeah. And their families are really good. So it really makes it a tough. This is one of those things where I know probably conversations are being had where it's like, we're family, but it's also politics, and it is stressful at times, and there's probably a little division, but again, good people, good families, and that doesn't make it any easier. But
no, I certainly don't envy having to sit around the Thanksgiving table here in a couple of weeks. But either way, I'm sure they'll find a way to keep carrying on. But that's small town politics for you. Everybody's related to or works with the other guy.
Yeah. So Gavin, you're getting ready to wrap up your term. Talk a little bit about, real quick, what are some of those things you learned? What are those biggest lessons you're going to take with you in life?
I think we've already touched on the fact that it's local government that makes the biggest change in your life, whether it's your taxes or ensuring that you have water and sewer or trash, fire and police. These are all very, very important hyper-local issues. And to have important issues decided by somebody that you're not voting for, every odd year, it makes a difference. So you want to make sure that you're getting out to vote first. And then second, making sure that you're able to work together and that you come out to city council meetings. We've had a very interesting turnout since we switched. We used to have a very large meeting room and 2 people would show up. Now we have a very small one and 20 do. So we're not complaining, but it's always good to have that feedback from residents and citizens.
Okay. Brad, for you, you've been doing this for a little while. Does anything surprise you anymore or not really?
Well, I want to touch on the district magistrate race real quickly. That's one of those, somebody said they're both really good people, and that's one of those races where, this sounds corny, but you really wish both of them could win. And that sounds kind of dumb, but they're just both, I think they would both do an excellent job. I think that's going to be the race. My prediction is that's going to be the closest race that we're going to see tonight. I really think so, because she did really well in the primary on the Democratic side. He slightly did better than her on the Republican side, and you add all those together, plus you throw in the people that didn't vote in the primary.
Right.
I think that's going to be a very close race tonight as we watch those. As far as what surprises me, I guess after all the years I've been doing this, I'm still surprised at how many people and how many elected officials want to spend so much tax money. And, all you hear about is how big the national debt is, $36 trillion. The governor's budget proposal for the new fiscal year is $5 billion out of balance. Those are some serious problems. But yet, almost every day I talk with people and they say, hey, what about more money for this or more funding for that? Or can we, do this? And there's a limit of how much taxpayers can afford to pay. All levels of government, whether it's a city, a county, a school district, the state, the national government, there's services that you have to provide, but you have to balance that with not breaking the backs of the taxpayers.
So, Brad, for our listeners, it's $5 billion out of balance. In other words,
using $5 billion of reserve funds. Not current year revenue. Well, if you drain the reserve funds over 2 years, which is what the governor's proposal would do, July 1st to 2027, we're looking at a tax increase. Well, we don't want a tax increase. The rainy day fund would be down to zero on July 1st, 2027. And, we'd either have a several billion-dollar cut, which that's not going to happen, or a several billion-dollar tax increase. So, I've always been a fiscal conservative. I've always, tried to advocate as much as I can to keep government spending under control. Right. And, but yeah, that's one thing that, I guess your question, what surprises me, that, some people want to spend so much money. Earlier when the mayor was on, they were talking about the ambulance service that the city of Meadville Fire Department has. Well, they have a $1 million SAFER grant from the federal government that gets spent over 3 years. So that's $333,000 a year. Well, it costs about $100,000 a year for one firefighter. That's salary. They restored the traditional pension plans, the health insurance, the uniform allowance, the workers' comp. You're looking at $100,000 a year per firefighter. So for 3 years, with that $1 million SAFER grant, that really helps the bottom line for the fire department budget. Well, if you have her back here about 3 years from now, talk to her once that SAFER grant is done. Where does the city come up with $300,000 a year to fill that gap? That could be a problem. And those SAFER grants, they're very well intended, but that's part of the $36 trillion national debt. The federal government spends money they don't have. And there's all kinds of things. There's twice as many people on SNAP right now as there were 25 years ago.
Do you have the numbers for the Commonwealth? I mean, do you know what?
I think it's around 2 million, I think, that are
2
on
million?
SNAP. Yeah. You look at Obamacare. It's like twice as many people now on Obamacare as there were pre-COVID. And there just has to be a limit to some of these things. Taxpayers can't afford to keep paying for. We need to help the truly needy. We need to help people that cannot help themselves. Orphans, people with serious intellectual disabilities, people with serious physical handicap, people that have a temporary setback financially. The place they work closes down. But we can't afford to have over 40 million people in the country on food stamps.
What's the most pressing in your mind? Or, in your contemporary's mind, what's the most pressing issue today in the House, in the Commonwealth? Is it the budget?
Well, yes and no. In our caucus, it's the budget. We keep encouraging the Democrats to actually bring up legislation that has to do with the budget. Democrats have 102 members. We have 101, so they're in the majority.
Right.
We spend a lot of time naming things. We name days. We name weeks. We name months. That doesn't really do much. We nothing against CPAs, but we named Certified Public Accountant Week. Last week when we were in Harrisburg. Well, Okay, that doesn't really help anybody that much, And we're always naming stuff, and it's just not a productive use of time. We should be focused on getting this budget done, in my opinion.
And there hasn't been legislation to that effect out of the House. I think we have to remember that there's another half of the building where the Senate sits, and it's currently held by the other party that is not in control of the House. And whether what they pass in the House is going to pass in the Senate may not be considered because there are such odds. And then you have to take into account what the governor is going to sign if it gets to his desk.
And the governor proposed, these are just, I don't have my numbers right here in front of me. The governor proposed we spend about $5 billion that we don't have. The House Democrats proposed we spend about $4 billion we don't have. The Senate Republicans proposed we spend $3 billion we don't have. Well, they all need to come down. We should be looking at, here's what the revenue is, here's what we're going to spend. That's how you do it. That's how businesses do it. That's how households should be doing it. If a household makes $50,000 a year and they spend $60,000 a year, they ain't going to do it very long until they get into serious problems. Right. And we need to get the spending under. I would like to see the Senate Republicans, the next time they pass a spending bill, I would like to see it lower than the one they passed. I would like to see revenue match expenses.
Do you have people that will come up to you and say, hey, you need to cut, we need to cut. But if you say, okay, what are you going to cut, or what can we cut here? They're like, oh, no, I don't mean here.
Right.
Elsewhere.
Yeah, everybody's human. Most people, including myself, and including you guys probably, have parts of the state budget that you can, relate to, or that you depend on, or that you think, really important things. And a lot of people, they look at just a certain part. Like if you walked into a library, I'm sure they would talk about the library part of the budget. People that go to state parks, they're concerned about state park funding the budget. People that have kids in college, they're concerned about higher ed funding. Folks that work with people with intellectual disabilities, they're concerned with that part of the budget, and so on and so on. As far as looking at the whole budget overall, a lot of people, it's like, well, yeah, Brad, I agree. We need to match revenue and spending, but don't cut such and such. That's a really important part.
It's funny you bring up libraries.
Yeah.
Because this is Venango County today.
Oh, that's interesting. That'll be interesting.
Have you been following this?
None of my district is in Venango County, but it will be interesting.
Okay, this was on the ballot for our friends in Venango County. Should the County of Venango support the Oil Region Library Association to operate as a county library by establishing a special library tax at the rate of 25 mills on all taxable real estate within the county? $12.50 per assessed value of $50,000. Yes or no?
There's precedent for that. You know that, right? Crawford County has a library tax, comes out of the county's portion. So that's been years, maybe decades ago, and that's going to be an interesting, very interesting thing, what people think about that. How important is a library? And I don't know the answer to that. You know what I mean? It depends on your point, what your constituent, where you're at, so hopefully it gets, some play, but I mean, it's been successful in Crawford County. In fact, even when I was there, people complained about everything, but they never complained about that. Not one person ever said, that's a problem.
I think in Venango County, it's my understanding that some municipalities might pay towards the library system, but some don't. So rather than just certain, like I don't know if it's the city of Oil City and the city of, I don't know the exact ones, but if some people in some municipalities are paying for the library, but people that live in other municipalities are not paying, would it be more fair to have everybody pay, to spread the burden a little bit?
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see, how that plays. Even though my district's not down there, it
and
is
you could make
interesting.
the argument either way. Like I'm over here, I never use the library, or I go use the library in another county. You could make a lot of ways to cut that. You're going to say you had me to.
No, I was just going to say having a fairly good working relationship with the folks in Oil City. I know that they pitch in a good amount every year to their libraries in Venango County, and
The city does.
See,
that's what I thought. I'd heard that.
And there are a lot of residents outside of the city that utilize those, and so it is an issue of fairness, making sure that everyone pitches in to keep them afloat. If you use it, you benefit from it, you pay into it.
It'd be interesting to see the people that live in the city.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to vote yes. They're basically trading one tax for a similar tax.
Yeah.
The people that live in the surrounding townships are like, well, I ain't paying now. I ain't going to pay later either, so I'm voting no.
We'll see how it goes as the night wears on.
That's a modest assessment, though, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
so let's see where it goes. That's going to be interesting to follow.
Any other particular races either of you are following tonight? Or anything jump out at you as sort of fascinating?
The Supreme Court, retention races, I obviously, as most Republicans probably, voted no on retention. I assume you probably voted yes.
I did, yes.
Most Democrats were leaning towards voting yes, I believe.
Yeah.
and that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think it's going to be close. I can't tell you which way it's going to go, but I really think it's going to be really, really close.
Well, and I think to speak to that point, right, this is one of the first times that we've had a real organized vote no campaign statewide for a retention race. Most of the times those are kind of overlooked, and it's shall so-and-so be retained, yes or no, and unless you have some very stark reason why you need to say no, most people just kind of click it and don't think about it. But this year it has been a major issue, and we've seen, I was watching TV with my friends on Sunday watching football, and there were 4 ads in a row for this
Facebook ads.
Back and forth, yes, no. So it's been a very contentious race this year.
So that's interesting, too, the changing nature of politics. Who's behind that? I mean, you can't get away from it in Allegheny County, which is a very blue county.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. Facebook, during games, I get texts from some number 717. But I mean, it's been statewide. It's been statewide. Is this the first time that you can recall this kind of a thing happening?
You mean
A coordinated, concerted effort to defeat a retention.
Oh, probably, because judges never lose retention. There's been one in the history of Pennsylvania.
In the history.
20 years ago, there was a judge. I can't remember if it was PA Supreme Court. Was it Supreme Court?
Yep.
And but one in hundreds of years. That's not very many.
Yeah.
And that was tied to the legislative pay raise back in 2000, whenever that was, 2005, I think, and 2004. And but otherwise, it's a real sleeper usually. People should, because remember, the ballot question doesn't say if it's a Republican or a Democrat. It just says, shall Judge Joe Blow be retained for another term? It doesn't even say it's a 10-year term, which a lot of people would find shocking if they knew it was a 10-year term.
That's an interesting point. It doesn't.
Yeah, and that would probably impact how people answer the question, because but it's really a lot of people that don't follow politics closely. They're surprised. They shouldn't have been this year with all the advertising and stuff. But like you walk into the booth, and you're used to seeing, I'm going to vote for candidate A or candidate B, and instead it says, hey, should candidate A get another term? It's like, well, I guess there's nobody else, so I guess so.
How many of those people that walked in today knew the issue?
Well, I think a lot of the ones I talked with, and because like Jack was saying, there was so much, postcards and ads and text and
I know that it's there,
right?
But how many people actually look at that and go, oh yeah, okay, and then they walk in Tuesday and go, oh, that's right, versus, oh yeah, I think I saw something, or I don't know, just I don't even know what's going on.
Well, and to that point, it's also that political memory is very short, right? And so a lot of the controversy with this Supreme Court was during COVID, when they backed up the governor on a lot of the mandates that he had, and then also redrawing the congressional districts, which is not something that a court is typically equipped to be doing by themselves, and they did. And so a lot of people have I think, forgotten about those issues, but certainly I think, to the Republicans' credit, they have pushed those hard this year.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And you had major groups too, like the PSCA Teachers Union, groups like that. Mm-hmm. They were pushing for people to vote yes. The Commonwealth Foundation, groups like that were pushing for people to vote no. So I think if you looked at the campaign finance reports and things like that, I think you're going to see that there's a ton of money being spent.
A ton.
A
Ton.
Are we ever going to get money out of politics?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, with genie's out of the bottle. Long before my time getting into it. So
Well, no. Well, you start factoring in who benefits from that. It's
absolutely,
a lot of people.
absolutely.
A lot of people. All right. Anything else? How about you, Gavin? Did anything stand out? I mean, I know the magisterial race, but any other things pop up?
It was fairly quiet today. I think I was certainly watching just to make sure that, the two that are going to be coming in on council to replace myself and our deputy mayor were doing okay, but there was no real concerted write-in effort against them, so they should, scrape by just
Was there a
fine.
threat of that?
There were a couple of people that, there are always folks that float that idea around, but there was nobody at the polls today for it, so I'm
Now-
pretty confident.
Both of the new council members in Titusville, it was Democrats running?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's no Republicans on the ballot.
No, which is...
That's weird.
And, when I ran in the primary, I was the only one on the ballot. Very often it's write-in campaigns in Titusville. People decide last minute that they want to get in. And
How many would want to just bypass all of this part of it, the having to run versus,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll just throw my name out and
maybe
there's
get
one
in or not.
polling location now in Titusville, so I don't have to bounce around. I can just stand outside of one place and say, here's my name, I'm running.
Sure. But I think it's also a lot easier. I mean, the average voter is a little bit lazy when it comes to that if your name is on the ballot, they'll click that if they don't know specifically that somebody else needs to be written in. And so this year, the two that are running, they were both kind of recruited from among the community. They're both well respected in the community, and I think they'll do the job
What's the
great.
composition of the council in terms of?
Currently, it's 2 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and so it'll remain the same.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, I believe you only need, 10 names on a petition?
No, for city
100?
council is 100.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, and so that can be a big barrier to getting,
Right.
especially on the Democratic side. So I know I had a lot of trouble doing it, and the cold, frigid February
Right.
weather.
Oh, we need 300, so I can relate.
So I think that they'll be just fine. And smooth sailing.
even if somebody tries to do write-ins, if somebody had 99 write-ins, they don't make the ballot. You have to have as many write-ins as you would have got signatures.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Off topic, but I understand you're in the market for a new city manager.
That's right. We have been conducting interviews this
Okay.
week. We just finished up the last one right before I came over here. It's going pretty well. I think that all in all, the candidates that we have would do a wonderful job no matter who we pick. And so we'll hopefully have an answer here in the next couple of weeks.
When does that job open up?
So we currently have an interim taking over. Our old manager moved to Edinburgh. He's now the borough manager there. And so we have someone filling in until we decide to hire. I think we were all kind of in agreement that we would push it off until January 1st just to make sure that we get everything set up in time. So,
100%. Well, good luck. That's important.
thank you.
Yeah, and you think, that's got some time, but
That's
that's right around the
very
corner.
quick.
Yeah.
Right. Brad, thank you guys for coming in.
Oh, thank you.
It's always a pleasure seeing you. Thank
Do
you.
we have a lineup coming up at 8:30?
We do.
Okay. All right. And real quick, Gavin, when it comes to Ben Leach, he's a little tired.
He is very tired, so I have been authorized to speak on his behalf, so he'll be in touch with me throughout the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for your
Gentlemen,
time. Good to
thank
see
you.
you.
Right.
All right. Our coverage will continue right after this. And hey, no Back to the Future here. We just messed up on the graphic. It is the 2025 election.
Oh, you. I just.
It got a little crazy earlier today. It is 2025.
Attention to detail.
That's right.
Jeez.
And welcome back to our live election coverage here, live from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. I want to thank Christian Marr for lending us his offices once again. We're in a different location this time. It's been a busy building
It is
tonight.
a busy building. There's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, which is good.
It is. It's our former location down below on the first floor, a little more spacious, but it's got a venue in there this evening. So this is actually more intimate.
Yeah.
And you like it intimate. So it's a little tighter, but it's a nice space. And we appreciate the Christian and the Heritage Foundation can make this available.
Yeah, and by the way, we're coming up towards the end of the year, so don't wait till the last minute if you want to make that, tax-deductible donation. Talk to Christian, set up a meeting, and they do great things. How about Crawford Gives this year? Over $1 million.
$1 million. How about that?
Incredible.
In this little community. And when I say that, I mean, Crawford's not a growing place, by and large. I mean, it's hanging in there, but I mean,
but it's
that's a phenomenal amount.
Yeah, but it is a very giving, caring county. So, yeah, congratulations. And that's a lot of hard work, Christian and his crew. So, good job. Very good job. And again, you can contact Crawford Heritage Community Foundation if you'd like to just set up an appointment. And again, they do a lot of great things. So.
Oh, they do. And it's countywide, by the way. So anything you can donate it'll pay back your community in spades. We had, as we do these kinds of things, set up work, and we had Mr. Scott Pressler earmarked for this time. If you don't know, he is in demand. Last I saw, he was in New Jersey this morning. But we were trying to get a perspective, and maybe we can talk about this, Luke, trying to get a perspective on statewide initiatives. I don't mean necessarily, to either retain or non-retain the judiciary, but I mean in terms of what's happening on the ground. And I'd like to address that a little bit. And maybe Brad can chime in if he's still here, but things have changed even in the last 20 years, for sure. I mean, electronically, you've got the digital marketplace. You see that the difference it makes in things like Insta and these different things, even in the last presidential campaign. And what motivates people is changed. I think that it's put us farther into two camps. You know, the great middle where I grew up or you grew up, or the majority of the listeners that are boomers, would probably consider them somewhere in the middle. And depending on who you listen to and what you listen to specifically, it sort of informs where you're at. This is not revolutionary. We all sort of see it or feel it on some visceral level. And I was hoping we could get somebody of Scott's stature to come in and just talk about what he's doing and the difference he sees in places like Pennsylvania with all his varied efforts here, there, everywhere, including Crawford, as well as New Jersey and some of the activist kinds of things and what his peers are on the other side. And I just want to address that a little bit because we don't think those things inform us here, but they do. And even when I ran, some of the stuff that was going on in social media was insane. And we used to call it, it's the you suck moment. But writ large on social media, that happens over and over and over. And it is indeed a tough business. So my hat's off to anybody that's running for, it takes a level of bravery just to do that, just to put yourself out there, and family understanding. I just want to get your thoughts as well on that. Like, what do you see? You're in the digital media. That's your space. Like, what do you see? Can you amplify what I'm trying to get at here?
Yeah, and you can take it from a lot of perspectives. From a candidate's perspective, you can take it from somebody who runs and is part of a rec soccer league, and listening to sometimes parents or coaches attack people on social media. You see it at high school and youth sporting events. I think there was an incident in Meadville last fall where a parent tackled an official after the game.
Is that basketball, right?
No, that was football, but there was an incident with basketball as well. It's amped up, I think, across the board. Politics, obviously, dividing a lot of people. And as we talk about this, let me pull this up. This was a Politico post
Do you want to chime in?
Yesterday about violence in politics. And this is really kind of scary. How about this? 33% of young Americans think political violence is justified. Okay, now this is from Politico yesterday. America is bracing for political violence, and a significant portion thinks it's sometimes okay. And a majority of Americans think it's likely a political candidate will be assassinated in the next 5 years.
No, I think we've had 2 attempts in the last year, right? Year and then some. But yeah, I mean, so this is what I'm trying to drive at, and I'm glad you guys could stick around. It's certainly changed, and you've been in it, what, this is your 16th?
19th.
19th. Okay, I had the 9 and the 6 flipped around. So you've been in it for 20 years, but all said and done. What do you see, Brad, at the state level with your peers even, and in terms of what's your user experience in being in the arena in terms of the camps?
Even when the cameras are off, is it still pretty divided?
Well, believe it or not, almost all of us get along really well with each other. And there's a little room behind the House chamber where there's coffee and bottled water. And if you're lucky, you get back there when there's still little bags of chips before they all get eaten. No, but everybody, they talk back there and kind of hang out a little bit during boring floor speeches. And people say hi to each other in elevators and in the hallways, and it's actually pretty cordial. Now, out on the actual floor of the House, what I've seen, the Democratic caucus has grown more liberal since I got there, and the Republican caucus has grown more conservative. And now, as far as what you were talking about earlier, I haven't really seen that I can think of right now, like any hatred or anything. I mean, people, if we were both in the state house, we would probably vote differently on some things, but I wouldn't say I hope he dies, and he wouldn't say he hopes me die. But it's just appalling that there's people on both sides talking like that. And the people that think political violence is okay, that should be at 0%. I mean, there shouldn't be a single person on earth that thinks that's okay. And, it's alarming that the numbers are as high as they are.
What do you think informs that? And let me ask you this. You've got a unique perch, like nobody in this room. Do you think that's a national phenomenon? I mean, obviously I remember a famous fist fight in a township here about 25 years ago, right in the rear parking lot. But I mean, that's a real anomaly.
I don't. What township was that? I don't.
Rockdale? Was that Rockdale?
It could have been. I mean, I don't. Yep. I don't. That's pretty funny, actually.
So,
I mean, there's a difference between two guys. Guys get into fights. That happens. But that's a lot different than posting on Facebook that you hope somebody dies, or saying it's okay to kill somebody.
But I think this all goes back to, not to cut you off, you can come back to this, but the whole social media thing, I think that's where you can really, because you don't know where things are coming from, and you can really start putting things out there to intentionally divide people. It's amazing how many times people will share something that isn't real.
Yep.
Because it just fits their narrative. Instead of thinking, well, maybe that isn't right, I should fact check that. It's just easier to see it and go, yeah, that's funny, I agree with that, share.
Yep.
And then it just keeps spreading.
Yep. I've been guilty of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we probably all have on 1 or 2 occasions at least, but yeah.
But what's really funny is when somebody repeats it to you, you're sitting in the car with them and like, hey, did you hear this? And like, I did, and that's not real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and to have those conversations as a person who is younger and has grown up with social media and technology, explaining it to my grandparents or aunts and uncles that are older, it's difficult because they want to reinforce what they already believe. And with artificial intelligence now, there are so many things that can look realistic that are certainly fake.
Yeah.
And whether it's Chinese or Russian, we certainly see people that post online things because they're divisive and they get them out there, and they know that in the American political sphere, it's ripe for division. So.
Yeah, and do these companies care if they're getting money for
Good question.
to pay to promote these posts?
And I think it's particularly compelling in the public policy sphere, the political sphere, if you will, because it's even in Crawford County, there's been some, and you know this, just some wild things said about candidates and so forth and so on. Sheriff's race of a couple years ago comes to mind. That was just, it was wild. It was a wild time. So, you take the guts or whatever, the bravery to go in and say, hey, I'm going to go run for city council, and you've got all things are local, all things being the same, people you've known for years just cutting you to pieces in a very vocal way that didn't exist, right? It just didn't exist.
I just think it would be good if people, and we're probably all guilty of not doing this all the time. I try hard, but like people they should say what they want to say. Everybody has freedom of speech,
right.
but the sometimes things need toned down. Like you had people saying, Trump hates Hispanics. He's exporting all of them. And then you had other people saying Biden hates America. He's letting people flood the border. Well, I don't think Trump hates Hispanics, and I don't think Biden hated America. They should have said Biden, was not enforcing, the border against, illegal immigration. And they could say, Trump is aggressive, too aggressively, deporting people. I mean, still say what you're going to say, but you don't have to say it. And then when people say, Trump, wants to be a king. Well, he doesn't want to be a king. He wants to, be a good president, but things like that are just, and then when they call, Kamala Harris is a communist. She wasn't a communist. She was a liberal Democrat. So people just need to, I think, tone it down a little bit. Make your point, but you don't have to say it in a way that's going to make somebody, turn it into physical violence.
Well, the other thing, and again, going back to social media, I think what happens is somebody has thoughts, and then they see somebody post something, and they go, boy, that's what I wanted to say. Boy, there is a group for me. And then they found their thing. And, so instead of just being liberal or conservative or Democrat or Republican, now you have so many of these offshoots of the parties that you're just kind of going, boy, I didn't know there are people like me, and maybe they're called this. Okay, now I'm associating myself with that.
Yeah, and I think particularly we talk very often about between the parties there being political violence and rhetoric, but even when you look at what happened to Governor Shapiro this year, it came from somebody that was to the left of him that thought that he was too pro-Israel. And you see all these factions in each party that are all biting each other's heads off.
Well, look at Fetterman. They're going.
Oh yeah, and
party's
absolutely
attacking him.
Yeah, and whether you agree with him or disagree with him, the fact that people want to remove him from the Democratic Party and say he's not one of us, I think speaks to the fact that we're very, very divided.
You're a young man. Do you see? It was mentioned earlier that's even in the State House, you've got more conservative. Leaning more conservative as time, so that great middle, that sort of yawn in the middle is a real thing, right? But even in the last several elections, I mean, you've got a Democratic socialist running for the mayor of New York. I mean, he's not, that's by definition.
Yeah, right.
And that would have been unthinkable even a decade ago for Democrats. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you see as a young Democrat that your party is sort of it's evolved into that's more of a legitimate place to be on the socialist side of it, or is that just on the national level or in big urban areas?
Yeah, I think, and part of it goes back to the fact that, even those of us that are younger Democrats don't necessarily like the establishment Democrats like Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers because they've been in for so long that they're not receptive to the needs of a new generation of new people. And whether you go for someone who's admittedly more moderate, right, like a Shapiro or a Fetterman, or whether you go swing further to the left, people are just discontented with the state of the party and I think of politics in general.
Sure. Look at today. I mean, the announcement of the death of Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look back at that time, I mean, Republicans were a certain brand then. I don't see that much anymore.
Absolutely, I think that's right. I hate to say it, but there's when I saw a little bit this morning, there were Republicans sort of celebrating it, which would have been, like you said, Luke, unthinkable. And I remember when Dick Cheney came to Allegheny College.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
Yeah, I was there.
I was there. Yeah, he and his wife. What year was that? That was some time ago. In the teens.
Oh no, earlier than that.
Earlier than that.
Yeah, I think they were in office. It was, I think, re-election. I think they were making.
That's what it was. Yeah, they made the tour through here.
Yeah.
That's right. And I remember the Allegheny College students on the other side of the street, which became sort of a famous thing. Should we have these political figures on campus, right? But somebody threw a tomato at us, and we saw who it was. Little inside baseball. We later hired him in the planning office as a data analyst. So, but I mean, you had those things going on. But I mean,
He just couldn't bring a salad to work. But other than that, they'd let him through.
True story. But things are changing. They seem to be evolving, and I'm interested from a younger person's perspective. That's all I'm saying, because you represent the future of your party, and you've got, the trappings of maybe bigger ambitions down the line. It's hard to say, right, where things will take you, but that'll be your sphere that you're playing in. You'll have to speak to whatever the party. You know what I mean? Like that's. Or you change parties. Like Fetterman has blown a lot of people's minds, I think.
Yeah, and I think that there were so many people that hated him in 2022 that now support or love him today, and people that loved him back then and are very dissatisfied with him today. And I know that there's already so many talks about primarying him in 2028, and so we'll see, who comes out of the woodwork for that in a couple of years.
Close.
Yeah.
I would imagine he'll be coming straight down the center of the road if he keeps, wouldn't be in a boat, So we'll see what happens. But that's what I'm saying in terms of, the both parties, and the Republicans. I agree 100%. I'll say since I don't know, Trump became ascendant, things have changed. For sure, right?
Right.
I mean, look at the the stage and the primaries in 2016. It's changed. So what it's changing into, I guess we'll see, but it's not the same landscape that you and I grew up in.
I think, too, what we're seeing is, I think, generally speaking, there's exceptions, but generally speaking, a more liberal Democrat is going to win a primary between two Democrats. The more conservative Republican is going to win the primary between the two Republicans. So, like in the case of Fetterman, he'll probably lose to a very liberal Democrat, and moderate Democrats may not be enough to save Fetterman. Now, on the Republican side, when McCormick's up for re-election, about 5 years from now,
right,
there'll be somebody that tries to run against him from the right, saying McCormick's not conservative enough, and he might lose his primary. And I see that all the time in the state house. I mean, like very rarely do incumbents lose primary. I mean, I beat an incumbent when I first ran, but it's a very rare thing. In the entire Republican caucus in the state house right now, there's 101 of us. I think there's only 4 of us that beat a Republican in a primary to be there.
And I can remember the one issue that probably caused that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a rare thing. And over the years, I've only seen not even a dozen Republicans lose primaries the entire time I've been there, 19 years. And every single time, it was a moderate or liberal Republican lost in the primary to a conservative candidate running for the Republican nomination. And I haven't paid as much attention on the Democrat side, but it's probably something similar over there.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Brad. I mean, I think that that sort of being outflanked by your party is driven, right? I mean, it seems like it would drive a further wedge between the parties.
Which is crazy, because look at all the people here in the middle going, well,
right.
I don't want all of that. I want maybe some of that, but I don't.
Where would you put Crawford County on the spectrum of conservative or?
Oh, where Crawford County is more conservative,
right?
Than the rest of Pennsylvania. Our Republicans and our Democrats are more conservative than the statewide averages are.
Yeah. Great observation.
So if you're a Democrat running, I mean, you almost have to have a little conservative side to you,
But
right?
I think that's also inherent in growing up where you do.
Yeah.
And having grown up surrounded by people that did not think the exact same way I did about politics has certainly shaped how I view moderation in political issues and
I've tried to beat it out of you, but it's just not working at all. All right, our live election coverage will
Thanks for
continue.
sticking around.
Hey, we have another hour to go.
We got another hour to go.
Wow, that's going fast. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
And welcome back to our live election night coverage. Luke Rio, Jack Lynch, our esteemed panelists here tonight. We want to thank Adam Bodemer, producing and directing tonight's live election coverage. And yeah, we're going to kind of find some results for some of these races we've been keeping an eye on. Do you want to go through, Jack, and highlight what we are sort of following tonight, or we've already done that enough?
Well, I think, we were promised, right? We were promised we'd have some results from the county. Nothing in that I can see. That would be a nice indicator because it just gives us some sort of, guidelines of what's happening. This is all early reporting, Luke. I mean, anything you would get if you go to the election returns in the PA, the big issue at the very top of the page is the retention issue, which in the very early going is a resounding yes for, looks like it's running 3-1 for retention for, Donahue, Doherty, and Weck, and so forth. So these results are just coming in, and that's going to be the interesting thing. And, I don't know what counties are those, but as the counties roll in, we were talking about that being the first ever really coordinated statewide effort to mobilize the no vote. So we don't have anything like, at least that we can report, that I'll keep looking as we speak, but Crawford County, we'll have Mr. Seeley come back and talk to them.
I got to ask though, we've gone casual for the last hour here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I have a hat on.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Good luck.
I wish we had the picture from, was it last year, Adam? Was it the primary? When you, I don't know, it's like you came off the boat or something like that.
You were complaining about the glare off my head earlier.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh, if we're gonna, okay.
that's what we go through.
Just
around
checking.
here.
Just checking. Thoughts, Gavin and State Representative Brad Roy with us here. Just thoughts on, I know we talked a lot about it this last segment, but the importance of getting out and voting in these elections. Again, we talked about, these are the positions that are near and dear to us when it comes to our kids, our communities. It is important in that regard. Are we missing anything in this conversation, again, in terms of the importance of getting out and voting for these types of positions?
It's critically important. I mean, school boards make the final decision what teachers get hired, what teachers get fired, who the superintendent is, what school buildings get closed, what school buildings stay open, what extracurriculars, marching band, football, wrestling, basketball. There's such critical decisions. You would think there would be 100% voter turnout. And I haven't even mentioned the tax issue. You could have a school board that raises taxes every year. You could have a school board that never raises taxes. A lot of people talk about property taxes a lot, but then when there's the election that we vote for school board members, 2/3 of the people don't bother voting. Right. And a lot of people, I don't mean to sound critical of people, I guess I kind of am being, but like a lot of people have a lot of opinions about potholes on city streets and garbage collection and, the cost of water and sewer and just different things that municipalities do. Well, then how come they're not voting for the people that lead those municipalities? It just seems like there'd be a 100% turnout. I know that's not realistic, but, if he and I are running for some office, a local office, and I'm going to raise your taxes a couple $100 a year, and he's not, I would think that would get your attention, but apparently it doesn't.
Yeah.
You would think. I think a lot of it's the conditioning and what goes into the national races. It captures not just the attention, but the imagination. I think that we've seen time and time again here in Crawford, elsewhere, where you have a local issue that burns people, and they show up, and they'll take a 30% turnout and turn that into a 60-70% turnout in that area, that municipality, that school district. We've seen that again and again, but it's sort of the apathy of the general population is overwhelming, by and large. I mean, not when you take a look at who's voting, who's not. Super voter lists, as we all know, that we all turn to those when we're looking to run for anything. You want to get the super voters on both sides. So I mean, it's interesting if you tie that idea, as results do start to roll in, that idea to the two sides being less diluted and more specific, because the minority of us are supporting right? The majority of what happens locally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's just an observation.
Yeah, and I always say, driving people to get out and vote here is absolutely crucial, because whether it's a school board deciding what's going on for your children's education, or it's a city council deciding on cops, firefighters, water, sewer, parks, trash, all the rest.
Right.
These are the things that day to day will affect you far more than anything in Harrisburg, with all due respect, or in
I
Washington.
agree. I agree.
100%. I'm thinking that we got one page of nothing from the county.
I will say,
We're all trying to figure out here what's getting updated.
very
what
touch
isn't.
and go.
Yeah.
We talked about the apathy of the general population, right? And I have a very close friend of mine who is more conservative, and we always have very intense conversations at lunch or dinner or whatever. And I asked him yesterday, I said, "Oh, did you vote?" He's from down near Pittsburgh. He said, "Oh, no, not yet." I was like, "Are you going home?" "No." "Or did you get a mail-in?" "No." I said, "So you're not going to vote?" And I chewed him out, and I told him he's not allowed to complain to me about anyone for the next year unless he gets in there and gets involved. But yeah, I think generally most people, especially when we talk about retention, we already touched on the fact that it is one of the first times that there's been a really organized campaign against retention in Pennsylvania. And I think part of what keeps people from turning that into a controversial race is the fact that the courts are not most of the time drawing up policy. They're not, controlling the power of the purse or sword, like Hamilton said at the founding, right? And so these are kind of mundane. They're not the sexy policy issues that you're going to see on a campaign. But once we have a few more results tallied up here, it'll be interesting to see how it all goes.
I cannot agree more. So we're still continuing to try to monitor. And right now, I've got nothing to report. Luke, not yet.
Well, I do have want to thank Chris Feely for sending us this. Titusville 3, Oil Creek, Crawford, Leach 736, Roberts 608.
Chris did send it? Oh,
Yeah.
really?
But that's just a small sample there. But
That, a lot of people don't realize that East Mead Township, where I live, that's part of that same, the Cochranton area. I mean, all the way up, I think, even to Spartansburg, I think. I mean, it's a huge area. It's a huge. I mean, if you got in a car in Spartansburg, drove all the way down to Titusville, then drove all the way to Cochranton, that's a big area. That's a big area.
That's big.
well, it's been funny to see where signs have been, placed in people's yards. You go all the way out here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting talking with Ben today. He said that this was essentially his first day of campaigning in Titusville, which is his home. It's his hometown, and but he's been all over every other municipality that's covered by this very large magisterial district, and it's so hard that they're few and far between to get to houses and get to events and talk to people.
How do you kind of divvy up that game plan when you're running? And your first time versus now might be drastically different. But how do you handle when you look at the size, territory you have? And then imagine, U.S. congressmen or, others, when you look at this, how do you get out and see everybody?
Well, you can't. At least in a state house district, you can't. You probably could for Titusville City Council.
Oh, I did. I knocked about 2,000 doors.
Yeah,
so.
you could hit pretty much.
Wow.
But yeah, I just kind of make it up as I go. The first time I ran, and then as recently as last year when I had an opponent. But I don't know. You just kind of know that you can't knock on every door. So you just, I don't know. You might get up some days like, you know what? I feel like being right in a little town. I think I'll campaign in Cochranton today. You just walk up and down sidewalks, and in other days it's like, I feel like seeing some of the countryside. I think I'll go to Beaver Township and just be in a mostly wilderness, just very sparsely populated place, and just knowing that you can't possibly knock on every door.
Is that though the side of politics that isn't going to go away anytime soon. Like, no matter what you do with social media, no matter, even traditional media, it's still getting in front of people, shaking hands, kissing babies, knocking on doors.
I think the doors are getting harder because a lot of people have doorbell cameras now.
Yeah.
So you'll see 4 cars. There'll be 4 cars in the driveway.
Yeah.
Every single light in the house is on. You ring the doorbell.
Brad's coming.
Yeah.
Grab the kids, hide.
And some of the people, it's probably, well, we always vote for Brad. We agree with him, but he'll probably try to talk to us for 20 minutes if we answer the door. Or it's like, well, I can't stand Brad. We always vote against him. I'm not going to waste more time talking to him. I don't know if there's doorbell cameras in Titusville.
Oh, yeah.
But
we have some technology, Brad.
We're not all the way out there in the middle of boonies.
Well, see, I used to represent Titusville. I don't know if you knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Like back, you would have been like 10 years old when I was a state rep there. But back when I used to knock on doors in Titusville, nobody had a doorbell camera, and every single door that would open up, are you that Brad Roy guy? Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
And so it's getting harder. And then unfortunately, some people are starting to think about safety. We were talking earlier about political violence and stuff, and what if somebody knocked on a door and some nut is behind the door and they punch the candidate in the face, or they shoot him, or they, stick their dog on him, or, and I don't know what the solution is. Maybe people should campaign in pairs, not go by themselves, maybe, I don't know what the answer to that is, but you have to think about that a little bit. You have to think about that.
Gavin, for you, what approach did you take, and how much of it was sort of those traditional things? I know you did things being at a coffee shop, or, are those things still extremely important so you are out with, people in the community?
Absolutely. And, Titusville we have a lot of older folks that are not going to be on social media, and I want to make sure to get their input and get my name out there and make sure I had their support. And so I knocked on as many doors as I possibly could. And you got to remember, I'm also a college student, so I'd be going to class all week, and then from Friday night till Sunday night, I'd be out knocking on doors and talking to people. Mm-hmm. And that was the part that I loved. What I didn't love was the social media aspect. I've gotten better at it since then, I think, but it's still, the times are changing. You have to be able to change with them, but you're never going to replace that sort of retail politics.
Yeah, and Brad, you may or may not be used to it. I'm not sure. I think you do a good job at when somebody says something about you, brushing it off if it's negative. Mm-hmm. Gavin, I know you've been attacked by somebody, specifically, but whether somebody agrees or disagrees with you, it's not right where some of these attacks come from, especially when it gets real personal, and that's tough to watch. Somebody from the outside looking at stuff that you guys do.
Yeah, it certainly got to me a great deal during the campaign, and I think even in the first few months in office. But I've since gotten to a point where I'm confident in what I believe, and I can back it up. And if someone disagrees, they're welcome to have that opinion. But yeah, it is very often personal. I'm sure that you've had that experience where people will drag you through the muck rather than having a policy disagreement.
Do you enjoy having conversations with people who disagree with you?
I love
sometimes more than people who agree.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun, actually.
I do. I love it.
Well, you both tend to
You relish in that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's fun watching, especially like at the fair. I'll see you just kind of light up, like, let's talk.
Right.
And
right.
Gavin, same with you. I'll see you around, and somebody will say,
I think we've
hey.
had conversations like that, Luke.
Well, you and I have.
Yeah. But no, I always enjoy it because it sharpens my skill in backing up my beliefs, and I'm sure that it's the same way.
And people, we kind of talked about it earlier a little bit, but people that they really just need to stay focused on the issues, and like you'll see some people on both sides. They'll say, well, he's stupid, or he's dumb, or he hates the county, or he hates the state, or he hates kids, or no, you don't say that. You say, well,
and Jack doesn't. We verified all that.
No, but that's you say, they want to spend too much, and that's going to raise taxes, or he wants to tax too little, and we're not going to be able to provide as many services as we need to. There just shouldn't be talking about people, hating people and stuff like that. But yeah, it's I always enjoy hearing other people's points of view, and but our job, yours in Titusville, mine in the State House, if you have a large portion of the people, 60 or 70% of the people saying, hey, Brad, vote this way on such and such, or hey, vote this way on such and such, you're always going to bump into people that were on the other side of that exact issue. It's like, I can't believe you voted how you did. Right. It's like, well, talk to all your neighbors, because all of them told me to vote this way.
So we're starting to get, I've been sort of burrowed down here, guys. I apologize. We're starting to get, the first cut that came in at 9 o'clock here. I just want to go to a couple. This is from Crawford County. Just go to we had the mayor in here, for example, just now with about 18% at 9 o'clock, the left of 9 o'clock of the reporting. The incumbent Democrat Mayor Jimmy Kinder has 979 votes. Don Erdley, the Republican challenger, 473. And we had some folks in here. You remember they were just here. For the council, vote for 2 on either side. Mary Moody, who was here, 907. Andrew Herbstreit was here, Democrat, 889. Jim Roa, he's an incumbent, Republican, 497. And Bill Lawrence, who was our first off the top of the hour at 6 o'clock, Republican challenger at 466. And again, that's with less than 20% of the vote, counted at right around 9 o'clock. Interestingly, the way this works in Crawford, like most places, those inner ring areas, the districts inside the city specifically, and then some immediate areas, that they're, just by propinquity, the first one to bring their bags in are the first ones to get counted. So, for example, in the Superior Court, Brandon Newman at 9 o'clock with, this is about 11%, led with 3,366 over Maria Batista, the Republican challenger. She had 2,190. So we'll see how this unfolds, right, as this thing as more precincts from farther away from the city of Meadville come in and get their rolls into the counting.
Now, one interesting thing, if you look at the details more, for that race, the one you're talking about, Newman and Batista, the mail-in ballots, the Democrat Newman, he had, almost 2,900 mail-in votes.
Right.
Batista had about 1,500.
Right.
The election day totals of people that actually voted today,
right.
The Democrat had about 500, the Republican had about 700. So what you might see, I don't know, over the night is those numbers will get closer.
Oh, yeah.
Because if all the mail-ins are counted already, but they're still getting results for the
early actual
polling sites.
And that would be the same thing for the judge retention.
Yeah. And then for Meadville City Council and school board, stuff like that, you don't know, like in Meadville, right down there beside the library, that church there.
1, 2, I think that is.
I don't know what the number. That's a heavily Democrat area, but you get out there by Halewood Golf Course, that's more Republican. So, if there's one precinct or a couple precincts that turned in, so it's hard to tell early on.
It is.
And I think an interesting thing with that race, and going not just that one, but with Stella Sy and Matt Wolford, is that 3 of the 4 candidates in both of those races are Western Pennsylvania. Stella's the only one from Philly. I know Brandon Newman is from Washington. Maria is from Clarion. And then Wolford is from Erie. So it's interesting to see on a statewide race so many folks from Western PA.
It's unusual.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a very unusual... statewide races, very, very unusual. From this,
we've actually considered in Harrisburg and worked on legislation to have districts for the PA Supreme Court, the PA Commonwealth Court, PA Superior Court, because what usually happens is almost all the judges tend to be from the Pittsburgh area and the Philadelphia area. Right. Whereas if there were different districts, you'd have people, sort of like you have in the State House, the State Senate. Rather than almost all of them being just from a handful of counties.
Think that has a chance? Snowball's chance?
I I don't think anything has a snowball's chance when there's 102 to 101 majority in the House, and then
Gotcha.
The Democrat or the Republicans having a majority in the Senate. It would require amending the PA Constitution, which is a very time-consuming. I mean, it literally takes two-year legislative sessions, and the public has to vote on it. So it would take literally years to get done.
Yeah.
Understood. So at least we're seeing a trickle of results come in. We don't typically go through the school districts unless there's a burning issue, but one of the things I'd like to get another cut of results and just talk a little bit about who. Obviously, there's the opposition write-in group, if you will, and the slate of Republican candidates. What kind of votes they're getting? If we can make any kind of early assumption, if you've got 50 votes, there might be an issue, right?
I want to know, Brad, maybe you can answer this. How did Penncrest become like the center of school board craziness the last handful of years? What is going on
Something
there?
in the water out there or something.
Well, there's just we could have like a whole show. How long are you on till?
If you've got some information, we'll go until.
There's a more conservative group and a more moderate group, and I supported the more conservative group. And the more moderate group, a couple of their, candidates have voted for property tax increases. A lot of people are really concerned with the high level of school property taxes. The other group of candidates, there's a couple on there that have been on the school board before, and they did not vote for property tax increases. So that's what a lot of it is. The teachers union is behind, supporting the more, moderate group. A lot of conservatives are behind, obviously, the more conservative group. And just like nationwide, the more conservative people in Penncrest, they want to make sure that boys cannot, play on girls' athletic teams. They want to make sure there's not books with, pornographic images, which there were some in some of our libraries. There was some pretty, pretty raunchy stuff that shouldn't be in a school library. Making sure that's not in there, and there just needs to be a better vision too for some of these school districts. So many of these school districts, they do all this right here in town, a few blocks from here. Crawford Central spent $5 million to remodel East End School. Mm-hmm. Then they closed it 2 years later.
Right.
Conneaut spent all that money,
right.
Remodeling all their schools. Well, then they merged all the schools together, and then they keep closing schools one by one. And a lot of taxpayers are upset over that, and they just think there should be more of a better organized way of spending our hard-earned tax money. And now, the good side of what's going on in Penncrest is it is good to see so many people actively involved. A lot of people, a school board election, what's that? I don't even know what that, a lot of people. So I think most people in Penncrest are aware of school board elections. So hopefully there'll be a good turnout when we see the final numbers.
I think you're absolutely right. It's been a hotbed for a very long time. There's more of an activist element, I think, generally in that geography, going back to some well-known names from 20 years ago.
And what's really interesting is school board candidates can cross-file. They can be on the Republican ballot and the Democrat ballot, and it's considered a nonpartisan position. That's why you can do it. Well, it seems like that's probably the most partisan position a lot of times. So, maybe that's something we need to look at doing. That just treat it like city council, township supervisor, borough council, county commissioner. If you're a Republican, you run for the Republican nomination. If you're a Democrat, you run for the Democrat, but you don't run for both. Right.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Agree with that?
You looking at me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hope would be that it would be something that's impartial, that you're not going to use your political ideology. But, of course, we've seen that happens. And, whether it's the issue of books or bathrooms, it's a hotbed for those kind of culture war policy fights. And so I don't know where we go from here. I'm thankful that Titusville is pretty standard by the book boring. Don't tell Lynn Cressman I said that. But I think that these races are incredibly important, and I hope people continue to come out and stay engaged no matter who's on the ballot.
What's dialogue like between your school boards and your city councils? Are they overall around here pretty healthy, or is there a lot of missed opportunities? Because you've got school boards doing their things, city councils doing theirs, but there's so much within a community where those overlap. Would you say overall here in Northwest Pennsylvania, Crawford County, we have a pretty good relationship with our school boards and our city councils?
Well, you can answer first since you're on city council.
In Titusville, I think that we have a very good working relationship with all of our members of the school board and administrative staff at the school district, and very often we work together on whether it's our parks and recreation facilities or special events for our seniors. We work very often hand in hand with all of them and have a good working relationship, which has not always been the case, and I think that's one of the things that our now previous city manager really worked on while he was in office.
Yeah, I agree.
I heard about that. In a general sense, and to answer your question, I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap. I do remember specifically something called the CAP project in this city when the field was being redone and there was a lot of private money. The Barcos were putting money into Dratz's, and also the city and school district. There was even the redevelopment authority. Everybody seemed to get involved in that specific project. That was a big project back in the day. But I can tell you, even from the county's perspective, and I'm sure the current crop of commissioners would agree, there's very little, if any. And one of the things that we always talked about at the state level, I just say the CCAP, schools are infrastructure. I mean, they're part of your community. They have a tax implication for your community, your city, or whatever. So, I mean, the fact that the county, and in this case, the county commissioners, don't have much of an interface with any school boards, if at all. I mean, but I mean, in terms of a de facto interface, right, there just wasn't anything, really.
There's probably incidental things, like if a school wants, the city to put up no parking signs on the street in front of the school, and things like that. But yes, as far as major, they're in charge of completely different things.
Well, and I go
There's
back.
Probably there might be some overlap, maybe like with, I don't know, like mental health and probation and juvenile probation, and there's probably a little interaction with people from the school and people from the county, but they're largely, you're right, in charge of completely different things. The school district has nothing to do with fire protection and garbage protection collection and water and sewer, just like the city has nothing to do with, running schools. And
Great example of local infrastructure was when the school district abandoned the old junior high downtown. There was a big push to offload that to the county, and it made perfect sense on several levels, and it was a no-sell, and there was a big contingent pushing for it. But that's a major piece of downtown infrastructure that would have solved a lot of issues as the county was growing, and obviously we're putting departments in houses and stuff like that. I mean, so that would have been a ready-made solution, and that would have been two groups working non-traditional together on it to solve a problem. But stuff like that, that's why I say schools are infrastructure, because they indeed are. And when you abandon a school, or East End's, I guess, the latest casualty in the city, where's it go? Somebody buy it and redevelop it into something, it's hard to say. But you're right about the tax base, which is your biggest dollar-for-dollar tax, burden on the local taxpayers. So these school races are exceptionally important.
And what's interesting too, a lot of people don't realize this. School board is an unpaid position.
Right.
Township supervisors get paid, $100 a month or $150. Do you guys get a token amount in Titusville?
We get $100 a month before taxes.
If you end up going out to eat before the council meeting because you don't have time to cook dinner, and then
covers a little bit of gas.
Other meetings you go to, you're breaking even, hopefully, But school board's literally a money losing proposition by the time you do all those things.
Sanity losing too.
Well, that's just going to the regular council. I mean, you got to serve on committees, and
so there's
all that extra time. So Let's do this. We're going to take our final timeout. We'll come back and spend the last 25, 26 minutes with you. Our live election night coverage will continue right after this. And welcome back to our live election night coverage. Jack's getting some updated numbers. Probably fair, Jack, to maybe call a couple people out. Emmy, you keep texting or calling Jack.
And I know you're watching.
So
we want to make sure if we could get like some reaction from folks that are in the hunt here. Sorry about that. For example, Ben over in Titusville, that is a big magisterial district, and it is a hotly contested. The county, for its part, is is performing. They've got another update. This is as of 9/25, and you've got about 17 to 20% reporting. So you can see, as we said and we thought, like in the judicial race for the Superior Court, Maria Batista has pulled even, in fact, gone a little ahead of Brandon Newman, 4,488, 4,606. So these races are tightening up. And what we see traditionally in Crawford County is as the returns come in, you see the Republicans for statewide offices pull away, generally speaking. I think that's time tested. I'd like to talk, if I can pull up real quick, the treasurer's race is interesting because the first cut was Stephanie Martin was ahead. This is, again, with about 19%. It's close. Renee Kaiser at 4706, and the Democratic challenger Stephanie Martin at 4604. Clerk of Courts, we only have Patricia Weatherby, Republican. That's a big number, 6,776. That's right up there with some of the taller numbers for single offices with no opposition in Crawford County, period. So let's go to the Magisterial District Judge.
And I do.
Go ahead.
I do have just a very short statement from the wife of the candidate. She said, anxiously awaiting the results. Just very thankful to our team that worked so hard today and for the entire campaign. So no word officially for them yet.
And with 10% reporting, back to your point, Brad, you've got Ben Leach, who's coming right now with 10%, 762 to Heather Roberts, 715. So that's pretty tight. And there's 90% to come in the door. So there's a ton of municipal races. Let's see if we can pull up real quick Meadville. I'm trying to get the rhyme or reason to these things. Since we had 4 of the candidates that appeared here tonight with us, 3 from the Democratic side, and Bill was good enough to come in and give us his thoughts at the top of the hour. And this could be an interesting race for a couple of reasons. Our sense was, we talked a little off camera, the Democratic side is full of energy. And that in and of itself matters. Very charismatic. Right now, excuse me, in the mayoral race, and again, this is with 36%, give or take, coming in. Jamie Kinder, 1,680 votes to Don Erdley, the challenger, Republican, 1,163. And that's, again, with 36%. On the council side, Mary Moody, Democrat, 1,555. Andrew Herbstritt, who was here, Democratic candidate, 1,588. Jim Roa, incumbent's been there for many years, 1,167. And challenger Bill Lawrence on the Republican side, 1,125. So the total vote cast for council of 5,435. That's a pretty good turnout for this, with this 35% reporting. So these are pretty good numbers in the city. So those are the races we've been following. Did you pull up anything else with respect to Coney Lake Borough yet?
I was just actually looking at that, where DeCalaba 17, and those are mail-ins. So, we're still waiting for a tally there.
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't show write-ins, do they? Because
but I was just trying to think, though, if you start seeing some of these numbers, if you had some information from maybe some other races around there, maybe you could kind of see how those numbers would compare. And if they're kind of low, would that indicate maybe more write-ins? I don't know. We're going to have to wait that one out probably a good week or two.
At least that would be my guess as well.
Now, if anybody was that interested, they could drive to Conneaut Lake. There's that. They leave the receipt
on the door.
Mm-hmm. So you can see how many people voted, in each exact election, in each race.
Right.
And you can see how many write-ins there are, and how many people voted for county treasurer, how many people vote,
Right.
But that would be quite a chore to go around to 60 different polling sites in the whole county, trying to look at the county stuff. But for one little borough, you could probably do it.
Right. That's true. That's
same in Titusville. All votes at the Y, right?
That's right. Yeah, one spot. So
it
if
used
you're
to be
interested,
4 or 5 different places in Titusville.
yeah. if you're interested, go out and check it out. It's I will say it's definitely more efficient, both as someone who has voted and someone that's worked the polls on election day, to have them all in one place instead of bouncing around town looking for where you're supposed to go vote. But with that, it also, I think, it's partially because there are less people voting in each precinct that they combined them together. And it's been a long process, but hopefully it drives people out to vote.
Yeah, you can also get yourself clean, have a good meal, do whatever you feel.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of it also boils down to, can you find enough poll workers?
You can always tone us late in the podcast, in the cast.
It probably wasn't as bad, Jack, when you were a commissioner, but it gets harder, I guess, every year to get enough poll workers because you need.
Brad, that was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think there were 67 precincts when I was there, and now down to 60.
Yeah. And you figure, I mean, you get paid like $100 or $150, some small amount, and it's like from 6 o'clock in the morning until this time at night.
It's a 15-hour day.
Yeah.
Roughly, right?
And that's just, a lot of people can't do it. They have kids, they have, medical issues, they have other jobs to go to, they have cows to milk, they have,
Well, you go back a couple election cycles ago, and they were getting yelled at by people.
Right.
That whole situation has gotten better. Right. So I know Chris Celia said that, and Eric Henry and Scott Schell, that situation where people are more respectful. Yeah. But there was at least one election cycle where that wasn't the case, and people were threatening to not do it again.
That's right.
They did a good job at taking care of that. So. And
I will say, in Titusville specifically, the one candidate that's running to replace me, Fred Smith, incentivizes his students in his government and economics class to go out and work the polls in both the fall and the spring because they can get a little extra credit and they get out of school for a day. And that has really driven a lot of folks that I know, some of my close friends that are now very involved and engaged in politics, to continue to do that for the remainder of their careers.
Well, that's right. We said it this morning. I said it tonight. If you're going out to vote and you can, take your kids with you. Let them watch you go through the process. Let them see how things play out. Let them be engaged in that. Start to understand why this is important. Right. And I think it's great for those who are able to do that. And I understand you can't do that. Pull your kids out of school just for that, but go before school or wait till after.
You could. That's educational. You could do that. I mean, you don't want your kid to miss the whole day of school, but I would see no problem. I don't think any teacher would mind that if the parent said, "Hey, I'm taking my kid
at this time
to I'm going to take him at what time does he have a class? Well, he has gym class at 10 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to get him at 10 o'clock.
No dodgeball.
That's the kid's favorite class. Yeah, and then we're going to go vote, and then I'll bring him back. And the teacher would be, "That's great. That's very educational."
And that all comes back to the importance of civic education, that you want to make sure that by the time people are 18, they understand enough to go and be informed when they go to do their civic duty and vote. And whether that's getting them to volunteer as poll workers or having family conversations and trips to the, voting booth,
right.
That's incredibly important.
Okay, so then how do we get to here? Again, this is Politico yesterday. America is bracing for political violence, and a significant portion think it's sometimes okay. So how do we get here?
Yeah.
Obviously in school we should be having these conversations, right? But are we?
Well, and I think
are we sharing ideas?
Yeah, and I think anytime you broach the subject of politics, we live in such a reactionary time that if some parent or family is conservative or liberal and something happens, that they're so quick to go to the school and say, "Why are you trying to indoctrinate my kid?" Rather than allowing folks to have a free exchange of ideas and saying that, look, there are some basic understandings that we have to come to. And de Tocqueville said that without common ideas, you can't have common action. We've got to be able to have that common action, and we have to share those common ideas of decency, freedom, and democracy and liberty. And I don't know how we get back to that.
Because it's not happening on college campuses much, is it? You can't.
No. Well, and I've spoken before. I love my university, but Mercyhurst is very, very standoffish when it comes to political conversations. And so we have political clubs that barely operate because they don't want to be perceived as pushing one thing or the other. And so what I have always been for is a free exchange of ideas and civic education, especially on campus, whether it's through voter registration drives or providing people with an open forum to share, this is this issue or candidate or campaign, and have a solid back and forth. But when we divide ourselves into those silos based on our political beliefs or political party, it makes us even more divided than we ever would be otherwise.
Well, you just to play off your thoughts, because you're much closer age-wise and demographically wise to anybody else at this table, right? So you're speaking more as a contemporary. But if politics is downstream from culture, having said everything you just said, there is sort of this cultural shift with we're led to believe by some of the polling of young males, right? They are leaning more conservative than they were even 10 years ago, for whatever reason. We could talk about that some other time, but that's a real driver. That is an interesting phenomenon. What's caused it? Is it a different national debate? Is it something local? Is it the school district that they're in? All of these kinds of things. So, Brad, I mean, getting kids civically engaged and giving credits for being poll workers, some incentives just to get kids out and engaged in this sort of what's happening at the local level is critically important. The apathy is off the charts.
I think one thing that might be causing some young people to be more conservative than just a few years ago, COVID really changed things. There's a lot of kids that they're really mad that their parents couldn't come watch them play high school football when they had all these, silly rules. And in an entire football stadium, there can only be, 100 people in the bleachers. And the prom is canceled this year. You can't take your girlfriend to the prom. And your high school graduation, tell your grandparents they're not allowed to come. And your parents can sit in the car in the parking lot. And a lot of these people, they've just had it. They've absolutely had it. And the ones that were in college, it's like, wait a second, I rented an apartment off campus, and all my classes are remote. I could be at home taking these remote classes, and I'm paying $1,000 a month rent. So a lot of these young people, they got fed up with the government. They got fed up with rules and regulations, and I think that's part of the shift.
There is, I will mention this, I know in Titusville, I think a relationship between St. James and the church and the YWCA, where they once a month try to have a community conversation to bring people together and just talk. I have not had time to attend one of those. I would like to sometime, but I'm just curious, are other communities offering anything like that? Is that something that should be done? Again, I think it should be done in school. I think it should be done at colleges, where those are the places you go to share ideas and to have conversations, to explore different things, to learn and grow. It just doesn't seem like that's happening anymore.
Yeah, and I think to the representative's point, right, that period in time, certainly that we were in our formative years of education, pushed a lot of folks my age and even younger to distrust government. And whether it's a distrust because of the overreach of executive authority at the federal or state level, or whether it's you look at people that are getting rich off of public service, and that's not what it should be. And so you start to think that everybody's out for one and one only, and that leaves a lot of people dissatisfied. And I know a great deal of friends and classmates of mine that just have no interest in being politically engaged because they feel that their voice has no power.
Right. Interesting. And I think you see that in the results. And I'd love to talk at another time about this. Your municipal elections are the pocketbook elections. These are where, day to day, your world, your tax structure, your roads, whatever. That's where the rubber hits the road. And, when you get, at the end of the day, a 30% turnout or whatever this turns out to be across the board, that's significant. And Crawford's fairly politically active. I mean, it's one of those counties. It's not crazy, but I mean, it's got a strong presence in the Republican Party. 30% turnout's terrible. it should be anyways, is defined by both voter participation and attitudes.
I mean, not to be a silly example, but like if you work someplace where 10 people work there, and the boss came out and said, "Hey, I'm the boss. I'm going to buy lunch for everybody today. The choices are pizza or KFC. Who wants pizza? Who wants KFC?" All 10 people would vote one way or another. Mm-hmm. But when it's like, hey, we're electing a mayor, city council, township supervisors, county treasurers, state judges, and only 3 of the 10 bother to vote. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. It is. I don't even know the word for it. It's deplorable. I mean, it's just.
No, it's not finger looking good.
No.
Well stated. I think it's an embarrassment, but
Stop.
what's that?
No, nothing. Anyways,
Now, people that do vote in odd year elections, we are a powerful group of people. I mean, because you drive down the street you live on,
Right.
you have more you have more power than the second and third house that you drive. If every third
That's right.
house is voting, so in a way, it's good for the people that actually do vote. We have a lot more say than we probably should have, but it's not our fault.
does that go into strategy when you're running for something, though? Do you think, okay, well, I'm only going to need X amount of votes to really pull this off?
Right. Well, I mean, every person running for every office, they want to get as many votes as possible, but it's just a reality. If you look at the records and you see somebody votes every 4 years in the fall election on presidential years, well, then there's somebody else that votes every single time. Primary, the general election, primary, general, and you only have time to knock on one more door that day.
Right.
You could probably guess what door you're going to knock on.
Right.
And, but it's just, I really am baffled why so few people vote in these odd year elections.
Oh, we're seeing it play out. And maybe we can have a forum to talk about just that at some point. I mean, for the purposes of reporting what's going on, we're waiting on an update. We try to like to get something in the door before we sign off here, but we're still on the last data dump from 9/25 from the county, and we'll see. We'll keep you posted. And by the way, we beat them up sometimes on here, but they've done a great job at least getting something out there. Like they said, they're heading out the door at 11 o'clock, so they'll do what they can tonight. But so far, nothing new. We were hoping to have a little more from the state, but Brad, any thoughts on, did you see anything on the retention issue that's been updated on your phone at the state level?
I haven't looked on there for half an hour or so. Last time I looked, it was only like 10% of the votes statewide was turned in. I'm sure it's higher than that now.
Right.
And my iPhone 2 is kind of slow pulling things up.
We'll have to get you updated here. What about outside of Pennsylvania? What races are you kind of taking a look at? New York City?
That'll be interesting to see there. California, what is it, Proposition
Prop
15?
Prop 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
They instituted a neutral, nonpartisan commission to draw congressional districts, a few years back, and that ballot question basically says, should we scrap the nonpartisan independent commission
For a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and basically gerrymander things to get more Democrats,
Which is
then go back to doing that.
Actually,
Next year.
and in response to the Texas
Oh, a lot of
legislation that was trying to pick up Republican seats, and so I think more states need to consider an independent commission to do redistricting rather than letting people who, no offense to you, Brad, but our state legislatures draw maps that would favor one party or the other.
And
So.
there's always gerrymandering. It's just the degree of gerrymandering. And independent commissions, I think that would be a great idea in theory. But here's what it boils down to. For an independent, nonpartisan commission to work, you have to have volunteers agree to apply to be one of the commissioners that would do everything. And ideally, you have people that have no interest in politics. They don't have liberal leanings. They don't have conservative leanings. They don't even care about politics. So they might not even vote. Well, how do you get people like that to volunteer hundreds of hours to draw maps? Everybody has a bias. No matter how hard you try, everybody is, inclined. Well, I'd like to see a map that would have more Republicans, or I'd like to see a map that'll generate more Democrats. It's just really hard to find truly independent, nonpartisan, disinterested people.
And real quick, it looks like the New York City mayoral race has been called.
Yep. Sure has, with Mamdani the winner with 972,000. According to ABC News or CBS News, 972,905 votes. Cuomo was a distant second, 797, 715, and the Republican Curtis Suila had 139,861. So
I think was it Staten Island? He was kind of popular.
You see those numbers? Did that make a difference? If all those Republicans would have voted for what's his name, would that have made it?
Cuomo.
Wasn't it enough?
No, well, it's not enough.
Not even enough, because there was some talk about that getting him to resign. And I think Trump even supported.
He did.
The other Democrat, knowing the Republican couldn't possibly win.
Yeah, I will say I've been following as close as I can on the Virginia governor's race. They're a very interesting state government, that one of few that have their gubernatorial elections on odd years. It looks like the Democrat, Abigail Spanberger, will win the governor's race.
First female governor?
I think that's, because both.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh.
Interesting.
Well, with the race in New York City, Gavin, what's that do to the party?
Well, we'll see. New York City's always been significantly more left-leaning than
No, it's
I
40%.
think the national.
Yeah, 40% of the people that are residents of the city
Yeah, but
were not born
I think
here.
Democrats are looking for the future of their party.
Yeah, and I think
So
we're going to have we're going to have a crowded field when we go to look for the future of the party, whether it's people like Shapiro or Newsom, or if it's Zohran Mamdani. We'll see.
I think all the Democrats running next year locally should have the same platform as the new mayor.
Yeah.
That'll play real well in Crawford County here.
Yeah, and I mean, the socialist side is definitely something that doesn't play everywhere, and it's special to New York City. But talking about economic issues and talking about folks having a hard time being able to pay for rent and groceries is something that definitely resonates with ordinary folks. Now, how you decide to address it, whether it's further government
That's well
intervention
stated.
or not.
It's universal too. But you've got the capital of capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, it just elected a Democratic Socialist mayor, right?
Yeah.
In a city that's 40% by birthright, not a natural, wasn't born in this country, is the changing demographics. And it's also speaking to maybe where the party's going on a grand scale. We'll see, right?
Yeah, and I think you see from some of the younger folks that came out in support, whether it's AOC or some of the other folks in the House, and then the folks that didn't come out and support him, that are some of the older establishment liberals. I think we're certainly seeing a shift, at least in New York City, and who knows whether that wave will move westward.
100%.
Could this be a possible change? I think you saw how Trump changed the Republican Party. Is this a candidate that could change the Democratic Party?
It very well may be. I think whether it's conservative populism or liberal populism, it resonates with folks. It's just a matter of using enough tact and wisdom to find out what works.
Final thoughts, Brad?
Well, thank you for everybody that did vote today.
Yes.
That's your patriotic duty. A lot of people died fighting in wars over the years to protect our freedom and our liberties and our right to vote and everything else. So hopefully next election we'll have a better voter turnout.
Well said. Thank you.
Gavin?
I'll echo what he said. Just thank you to everyone who voted. Your vote truly counted, and we look forward to seeing the results over the next hours and days ahead.
But to close by saying, we talked about pathetic turnouts and sort of these platitudes, negative fence. Hats off to everybody in Crawford County that's involved in the election process, voters' office, the county commissioners. We learned a little thing tonight. about what they do, how they do what they do in terms of both handling, securing the vote, and getting the vote out there. And my hat's off to all those people, and thank you very much for your time this evening, and as well for voting. It makes a difference. Thank you.
Brad, Gavin, Jack,
Luke.
everybody else who joined us. Adam, thank you. The viewers.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Adam.
being with us. All the guests who showed up. Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. Thank you so much. If you get a chance, sit down and talk to Christian before the year comes to an end, and talk about giving and planning and making a difference here. That's another thing you can do to make a difference. Go out and vote, but also maybe what's your legacy? And Crawford Heritage Community Foundation can help you start planning that legacy. So thank you for being with us. Have a great evening.
Good night, all.